28th, 2025 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. City Clerk, if you could please take the roll.
Flom,
Here.
Philo,
Here.
Stevenson, Spanbauer,
Here.
Mugward.
Here. Invocation tonight will be led by Councilmember Flom.
As we gather tonight, we are grateful for the good things that have come to this city. May our decisions always be ones that are for the well-being of all whom we govern.
And then tonight we have students from Lakeside and Jefferson Elementary here to help us with the pledge. If you students wouldn't mind joining me up front. All right.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, again, thank you for being here tonight and helping lead us in the pledge. Parents, guardians, thank you for bringing them. Really appreciate you guys taking a few minutes out of your night to have them help us. And principals, too, I think I heard in there, right? He was hoping for a plug as the favorite principal. Somebody I heard earlier. I've got students from Jefferson and Lakeside. I'm going to give you the mic if you're okay with it. If you give us your name, tell us what school you're from, and maybe teacher, favorite subject.
My name is Penelope. I go to Lakeside Elementary. My favorite subject is math, and my teacher is Miss Thompson. I'm Tamaya, and then my teacher is Miss Gross. My favorite subject is reading.
My name is Amaya. I go to Lakeside Elementary, and my teacher is Miss LeClaire, and my favorite subject is math.
My name is Israel, and I go to Jefferson. My teacher is Miss Daggy, and my favorite subject is math.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for helping us tonight.
Yeah, the room.
Oh, yeah. All right. We did issue a proclamation just recently. It was actually for Merrill School Legacy Day. They had a event last week that the city manager and I were able to attend for their the ribbon cutting at the new field over by Merrill, former Merrill, now Val Phillips School. Public statements to council be next. Reminder, statements are limited to 5 minutes. Statements must address items that are, one, not listed on the agenda tonight, are limited to issues that have an impact on the city of Oshkosh, and that the Common Council may address at a future meeting, and must not include any endorsements of any candidates or other electioneering. For kind of a clarity, council cannot respond to questions, comments, or remarks during this time. It's not a discussion period, but it's an opportunity for us to receive and hear feedback from you. So it's an opportunity for you to address the council tonight. So first up, I have, for citizen statements, I have Brian McCain. Mr. McCain, if you could come on up over here. Yeah, you can come in front. Take the shortest route. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me. So I had no intention of being here, and so I'm just going to tell you guys the structure. I have a statement. I don't read very well. Once I start reading, that means I'm going to do the thing where I, ignorantly walk out, and you guys can continue with your meeting. And then to parents or to everyone, I've been experiencing homelessness for 5 years. What I'm going to talk about is very passionate, and I'm not accustomed speaking passionately without cursing, so I would do my absolute best and apologize in advance.
Try to keep it clean.
Yeah, I would do my absolute best.
Thank you.
Okay. So it's a congruence of events is why I'm here. Monday morning, I was woken up by a police officer, and I objectively lost my ability to be reasonable. And so I will note that your police officers are reasonable, because my actions terrify me, because the main most important thing to me right now experiencing homelessness is my dog. And I lost my cool so much that my dog was outside of the car, and I don't know when, because I drove the car during my little outburst. And I was gonna be all fancy and remember the city ordinance, but it's not important. You guys know them. They regard sleeping within the city limits in a car and probably on foot, but I own a car, so I didn't study the precedent for on foot. And that contextually means that as a homeless person, at a certain time, I have no longer any legal right to exist inside of your city. And as the only black person in this room, that is a sundown city. And that is part and parcel with Old Crow, or Jim Crow law. I know it's probably started from some corporate desire back when Kmart and Circuit City was still running to stop people from lining up overnight for Tickle Me Elmo, and yes, I am that old. But I'm also suffering from another problem. I have been clean for years from meth, and I tell a lot of my friends that they are better than that substance. But contextually making it illegal to sleep means either you hide or you leave the city. And the best way to hide or stay moving is methamphetamine. So as someone who has recently lost someone because they had too much meth in their syringe, and likely probably knew it and used it anyway, I'm not here to protest an individual's actions. I'm here to expose this body's moral insolvency. Your laws do not curb homelessness. They legislate the existence of the meth epidemic by making self-destruction the only economical, rational option for survival. I offer no solution because the moral outrage or you have engineered is turning basic human sleep into a purchasable privilege. It's your own shame on this city council, on anyone who thinks that's okay. Thank you. Did I curse?
Nope.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. McCain, thank you. I do not have anyone else registered for any citizen statements to council. Please come on up, if you'll state your name and address for the record.
And I didn't know what.
That's okay.
I'm all on space off agenda.
Okay. Right after Ms. Diener, you'll have
My name
that.
is Patricia Diener. I've been gone for a couple of years.
Patty, can you give your address too?
1316 Broad.
Sorry.
I come to you
Thank
this evening because I heard on the council when I've been home for a little bit. I am very concerned about not having ambulance service. I have a gentleman, been a personal friend. He's done a lot in our county. He's done it for the state. This gentleman did 7 fatalities to keep their rescue squad up in Coleman. And there is funds for it. He's gone to every county that he needed to. And within this year, I'd like you to inform you, this gentleman did his job to the fullness. He was a judge. He ran a company. He ran the rescue for 50 years. He was a judge for 17 years. And if that man can do it, nobody else saying they can't do it. Because when I've been up there the last few years, I've seen Piggly Wiggly donate $12,000 to the fire department. People have donated money to the rescue because life is first and safety comes first. And I don't know, and this is my thing that I'm trying to say, are you guys concerned because there's another hospital coming? Or are you concerned because of the money? I heard the mayor talk about it. He's saying the same words almost what I said. You could go to the state, you could go to Pascalities and ask for money. There is money. When I seen my best friend and wife do it for 50 years and bring that money in, that I'm gonna tell you right now, they had hired 2 full-time rescues because people are getting burned out. And that's why Clifford said, it's time for me to hire 2 people. But within this year, that guy did a full job. When he laid his head down to go to sleep, I say to him, he did an awesome job.
Thank you, Ms. Diener. Sir, please come up, name and address. Nope, if you can do it when you get to the microphone so we can pick you up.
Is there a timer?
There is no timer, but I keep track of it.
Okay.
There's a little clock on the other side.
Tough for him to see.
My name is Dan Irish. My address is 1317 Southland Avenue here in Oshkosh. I understand that I won't get responses tonight. I'm going to research this more and see if we can revisit this. The issue was voted on last city council meeting, apparently. We'll start off with some global questions. First and foremost, why is there a comprehensive energy plan for the city of Oshkosh? Whose decision was that to initiate it and why? You all, I hope, realize that you have a fiduciary responsibility for the citizens of Oshkosh. What benefit on this issue can you show for the citizens of Oshkosh? We had a presentation back in September 4th by a gentleman named Ted Richmond from Pale Blue. Let me make sure that I get this right. Can I name that company? Pale Blue Dot. I'm sorry if I shouldn't have named that company.
Okay.
But I watched that online. I was appalled at the number of times that Mr. Richmond, during his presentation on the efficacy of this program, used the term wonky. When I hear a presenter use the term repeatedly wonky, they're selling me something. They're not justifying the program, they're selling me something. And he used that term because he doesn't understand or is incapable of explaining properly what he's presenting to City Council. Was there a vetting process for that company, or were they just chosen randomly? Do any of the advisory council members have a financial tie to that company? Is that company going to then in turn provide the systems, the solar systems, that they're suggesting that the city undertake? And in closing with that meeting, I heard a comment, and I'm not going to mention names, but the comment was something to the effect that if this city council member loves it, we love it. Are we truly giving complete authority to one city council member on a subject where we're going to install solar panels on our buildings? Again, what is the purpose of changing the source of our energy for the city of Oshkosh? And even if it was possible, and Mr. Richmond in his meeting even made this comment, 100% net zero is not even possible. Even if it was, and I'll stipulate to that, even if it was What benefit, again, to the citizens of the city does net zero have if it's just the city? Are we going to have UWO be net zero too? Are we going to compel local businesses to be net zero? And what is the cost of that? Renewable. We like to throw around this term renewable energy. Has the city council looked at the cost, the environmental cost, to produce solar panels, to install solar panels, to maintain solar panels, and probably most important to the environment, to dispose of solar panels? Have you seen the way that some of the materials for solar panels are obtained through the mining processes? China is the biggest provider of solar panels. Do you know the amount of toxic waste that they're dumping as they're producing solar panels? Mr. Richmond gave us a 30-year ROI on solar panels. Why 30 years? Well, because they don't know, and of course, let me say that a different way. They used 30 years because that's how long they believe that the solar panels will last. That's the lifetime of what they believe the solar panels will last. Guess what? They've not even been in business for 30 years. Did they have a track record? No. They represent, according to the internet, about 4 different municipalities for this type of project. I've read that the cost of producing solar panels versus the energy that they can produce over the lifetime of that solar panel, this far north, it's a negative impact. How many failed climate predictions have those who suggest that we need to be to net zero? How many failed predictions have they made? How many of them have come true? Is there one? I don't know of one if there isn't. Anthropogenic global warming. Remember when that started? Well, guess what? They had to change that. So now they say anthropogenic climate change. And guess what? They even had to change that, and now they just call it a climate emergency. This is not the way that our city should be expending taxpayer funds because someone has a pet project of renewable energy. It's not cost effective.
Mr. Irish, your 5 minutes are up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. So I should have addressed it the first time it happened, but I didn't. I got to address it now. So we don't allow for any outbursts of support or against in any way, because if I allow you to clap for and support, I also got to allow somebody else to do the opposite, and that's not going to happen. So if I could ask for the audience to just remain quiet during folks speaking to us. So, are there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak under citizen statements to council? I see none. Okay, we're going to move on to consent agenda. So consent agenda, let's see here. I do have one, Mr. Bellacarelli. Did you registered for the number 18, the appointment to Long Range Finance? Come on up. Are you able to adjust that, or do you want me? Are you sure? Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Adam Belcarelli, 1624 Western Street here in Oshkosh. I was asked to come speak. I'm on the Long Range Finance Committee, and we have been talking about special assessments, haven't we all? And in our most recent meeting,
I need to clarify something.
Yeah.
Are you wanting to speak to the appointment that is under number 18, that we're putting somebody on Long Range Finance, or do you want to speak to the probably number 28C, which happens to be special assessments?
correct.
Can I hold you back until 28C then?
Yeah, totally.
I'm sorry to do that to you.
No worries.
Thank you. Okay. I don't see anyone else registered for consent-related items. Now would be a good time if you wanted to. Okay. I'll take a motion and a second on consent, please.
So moved.
Second.
I think Mr. Bulow would like to pull number 4.
That's correct.
Okay. We also need to pull number 10.
Correct.
And then I'm going to pull number 12 as well, just for a separate discussion, just so we can vote on everything else first. Council, any discussion on the remaining consent agenda items or anything else you'd like to pull? Okay, City Clerk, if you could take the roll on consent minus number 4, number 10, and number 12.
Flom,
Aye.
Bealow,
Aye.
Spanbauer,
Aye.
Lugauer.
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
In relation to number 4, Resolution 25-540, I should have done this at the beginning of the meeting, but I need a motion and a second to adjust the order of our agenda to move this item to the last item on the agenda.
So to move this 25-546 to the last item on the agenda.
25-540.
Oh, 540, sorry, 25-540.
I'll second.
Reason for it, we have a council member who needs to recuse, and we need 4 to vote something up or down. And it's possible Mr. Stevenson may be here later in the meeting, and if he is, we'd like to have that opportunity to vote on this. If not, we'll lay it over to the next meeting. Okay. If we could take the roll on adjusting the order of the agenda for 25-540.
Flom,
Aye.
Bealow,
Aye.
Spanbauer,
Aye.
Lugauer.
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
Thank you. So next up, 25-546. This is to approve sanitary district agreement with Winnebago Area Sanitary District. We need, per legal, we'd like to lay this over to the next regularly scheduled meeting. Is that my understanding?
Correct. They asked for it to be withdrawn tonight. We are meeting with them later this week.
We didn't have a chance to withdraw it in time to publish it, so we just need to,
I will make the motion thusly.
sounds good, to lay over.
Second.
Any discussion on laying over? If you'll take the roll on laying over 25-546.
Flom,
Aye.
Bealow,
Aye.
Spanbauer,
Aye.
Lugauer.
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
25-548, Parks Director Mauer, if you wouldn't mind coming up, and I apologize, I didn't give you a heads up, but you're going to be able to easily handle it. Resolution 25-548, accept Quarry Park Master Plan. Both the Advisory Parks Board and Plan Commission recommend accepting the master plan. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
I just have questions in terms of, my apologies, I should have asked to have the graphic put up. Talk to me a little bit about the idea behind so much of the native plantings in this space, as well as were any of, as part of this plan, there's a soccer field there. There already is one. One's been used for decades, probably. This is hoping to improve the turf and make it a little bit more like just nothing at all.
So let me touch on that one.
Yeah.
The open green space is basically we're leaving enough room, open green space,
Okay.
for a pickup soccer, pickup football type game.
Okay, I was wondering if anybody had chatted with any of the clubs that typically use that space or could have, but
Our understanding is because of the conditions and the undulating surface that they haven't been using it much. They're actually, I believe, removing their goals later this year yet.
okay. Native plantings. So then that probably actually makes my question a little bit moot, because had there been a designated soccer field, it actually limited the amount of green space, forgive the term. I guess thought process behind that much native plantings in that space, as well as gravel trails through that. For those with mobility issues, I guess, can you talk to me about that? There's a lot of gravel trail in there for those who may struggle.
Sure. The reason why we chose crushed gravel, it will compact and should be a very dense, surface. The reason you don't want to put concrete or asphalt there, because of the shifting ground, you're going to have cracking and heaving, and would increase a lot of the maintenance costs. Gravel, if it moves a little, we can add gravel, grade it out, and so forth.
Okay. Native plantings?
Native plantings, I think that was really a lot of input from the neighbors. They wanted to see some additional areas that they could walk through, maybe have some signage about the plantings, encourage pollinators. We had some really good input meetings with the neighborhood, and we purposely put some of the trails to walk through those native areas and possibly have some educational signage as well.
Okay. I appreciate it. I'm in support of it. I just had more questions, and I think I had gotten a few on it. And on this one, I really appreciate the amount of input that was given from that neighborhood, as well as through the 2 different advisory panels. So just wanted to have a chance to have a few questions answered. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on this from anybody else? If you can take the roll on 25548.
Flom,
Aye.
Bealow,
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Mughwar.
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
Then we should be at new ordinances. Ordinance 25-555, amend parking lot maps, associated regulations with Appendix 27B of the Municipal Code for the 300 West Lot. Transportation Committee recommends approval.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? I don't see any. If you can take the roll on 25-555.
Flom,
Aye.
Bealow,
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Mughwar.
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
Ordinance 25-556, amend Section 27A-11 of the Oshkosh Municipal Code pertaining to parking regulations on Grand Street from Merritt Ave to Hudson Ave, and Transportation Committee recommends approval. Do have a few people registered on this one. Chris Steinecke, and then followed by Ruth Ann Burrow. So Chris, if you could come on up here first, and then Ruth Ann, if you'd follow right behind. Reminder, keep it to 5 minutes, and welcome.
Hi, I'm Chris Steinecke. I live at 520 Pleasant Street. My garage goes back onto Grand Street. I actually was one that filed the complaint requesting no parking. Originally, with my driveway getting in and out when people park across, the road ain't wide enough to get out. My secondary concern was that it should be no parking for that whole stretch, because the road just is not wide enough. I bought my house in June, and twice now I've seen fire trucks have to stop and back all the way back up to Merritt Street because somebody's parked on the road. So I looked up the fire code for the state, and the state fire code says it needs to be 20 feet. I take my tape measure out there, 17 feet 4 inches from the inside of each curb. Right there tells me that if there is a fire or an ambulance has to get by, that's crucial time. If there's people that live on the other side of wherever that parked car is, that could be a matter of life or death. That could be a matter of lost home. You know, my wife has been an EMT for 12 years in her career. That's crucial time. And for the people that live on the other end of that parked car, that's not time that really should be lost just because of parking and considerations for that. So that is why I brought it to the attention of the council, and that's why I asked for you guys to approve for no parking on that stretch. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Ann Burrow? Welcome.
Hi. I live at 552 Grand, so I live at the other end of the street, almost where it comes to the end of the one-way street. So we live at, what is that, Mark, Hudson? Yeah, so where it comes to the end of the one-way. So there's a group home in between where he lives and where we live. There's been where the first responders have come down, and where the parked cars are, they haven't been able to get down there. They've blown their horn. In between us, there's a neighbor, Erica, she has it, she works from home, where she has it on recording, where they've blown their horn for well over 5 minutes and nobody's come out to move their car for them to get down the street. There's also been where the plows can't get down the road, so our road won't get plowed. Garbage trucks have had problems getting down the road. Sometimes they try to come up the other way, but they can't. So you can't get plows down the road, you can't get first responders down the road, you know. It's kind of a no-win situation from time to time, not to mention that there can be neighbor disputes, which we've had. Across the street from us, there's 2 homes that their addresses face the Pleasant side, but their driveways are on the Grand Street side, so if they're trying to back out the cars that are be parked there, they can't. So they kind of got it right now where their driveways are next to each other, so they can UE out into each other's. For us, our driveway is big enough right now that we can get our cars in, but it's become, you know, we've had disputes with our neighbor. We never did before until, you know, it was like 18 months of an argument with one renter that was there next door to us. It would just be easier for the whole street, for first responders, for garbage, for anything, if that whole street, it's just not wide enough. Like he said, it's only 17 feet wide. If there was just no parking down that whole stretch of that street. It's not a long enough block for it to be anything else. I don't know. In the winter, it gets so bad that, I mean, there's a few of us just that just shovel the street, or my husband's got a work plow at his work that he'll go down there and plow it once in a while for everybody, if we can get down it, if everybody's car's off it. But we take the responsibility ourselves, some of us, for doing it for everybody, but it just turns into a hassle. There's just too much there's just too much argument between neighbors otherwise. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wants to speak to this before we bring it to council? Sir, if you can come on up. When you get there, if you could state your name and address, and then keep it to 5 minutes, please. And welcome.
My name's Jeff Ellman. I'm at 514 Pleasant Street. I'm actually right next to Chris. I have lived in my house for 17 years, and I'm just going to go off pretty much what everybody else was saying with fire ambulances. My wife is also disabled, but our house didn't get on Pleasant Street, but my garage is in the back of Grand Street. And several years ago, I had to come to the council and everything to add on to my driveway because it would go past the width of my garage. I only have a one-car garage. I ended up being able to do that. With that being said, I still have people that are parking right behind me. I have a truck. They don't turn sharp. I have a utility pole on this side of my driveway. It is very difficult for me to get in and out of my driveway, especially, and then when it snows and everything shrinks. And unfortunately, my wife has accidentally backed into somebody's car trying to get out of there and stuff. So that was, that was on us and stuff, obviously, but it was just very difficult. Yeah, my concern is that, like they said, ambulances, fire department trying to get through there. And also everybody that's on the east side of Grand Street that owns their homes, every single person has a really long driveway. So there's really no reason for them to be parking out on that street anyway. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. One final call. Anybody else wishing to speak to this item regarding parking on Grand?
Ask you a question. I know in the 70s I used to be on Grand Street all the time.
Ms. Diener, if you can come on up and speak it at the microphone, please. Gonna make you do it.
I grew up in that neighborhood between Broad and Grand, and I noticed when there were a lot of elderly people when I went over to a friend at 524 Grand, and there were cars. They made blacktop so they could park there and they could turn off. But like I said, it's been going on for years. The garbage truck, the fire department, it's been like that. That street is narrow and people are going to park where they want to park. It's a public street, and if it's inconvenient, well, then have the officer come out and check it. But this has been going on for years. I don't even know if I can recall that street ever being done. And I lived in that area from 1965 till I was 21 years old. So that street has been like that in Pleasant. A lot of people I know, they have driveways, they make driveways this way now, instead of coming here. But there's a lot of people that made blacktop to drive in because their garage is on Grand, going this way up from Pleasant. And I don't think that street has ever been done. It's been a narrow street, because we used to see the garbage trucks go down there, pick up the garbage. They had nothing but trouble. And the only way they're going to do it, you're going to have to start buying people's property and get that street bigger. For why?
Thank you. All right, I'll bring it to council. We have a motion.
So
I need a motion in a second.
So moved.
One of you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion from council.
You got full.
I apologize. I do see some buttons pressed from Mr. Floam, followed by Mr. Bulow.
Okay, is Director Collins, is Jim available? Awesome. Jim, I have a couple questions, a question, then a suggestion and a comment. I understand both sides of the situation. Namely, council heard from a resident who lives at 548 Grand Street who has accessibility concerns regarding the ability to get in and out of their driveway. It is a 29-foot wide lot. This individual has a very tough time getting out of their car, has a very tough time getting passengers out of their car. Just given how narrow the lot is, that creates a concern. So for this, question I have for you is twofold. Number one, why was it changed from a 315-foot extension? Why was the amendment included by the committee? And the second question is, what can be done about this accessibility issue? Because while it is a public safety issue for the street, this is also a quality of life issue for this specific resident. So those are my questions to you, and I was wondering if you could address those.
Sure. So originally, when I talked to Chris, the concern was the driveways. So when I looked at that, that's how I came up with, I think it's 315 feet. It would go past his driveway. There's a group home on the east side. It would go just like past their driveway a little bit, which would solve the initial concern. So that's why I came up with that. However, then, in talking with him further, he said, there's a group home, they're having trouble, so we'd really like to have the no parking all the way to Hudson. So then I said, well, I heard from this other citizen, and I said, well, the 315 feet will solve the initial concern. So that's what I brought to the committee. However, most of the residents that spoke tonight, as well as one or two other ones, came to the committee meeting. And as you can see, there are issues either way, right? So the committee agreed that the greater good was to restrict parking for the whole stretch. It is negatively going to impact the one resident. However, it seems like the vast majority of the residents on that street are requesting no parking. So the committee agreed with the residents to make no parking the whole stretch. As far as the accessibility for the individual, that's out of my wheelhouse. I'm not sure how to address that. I deal with the traffic and parking, but as far as the private residents, I'm not sure how to address it.
And then following up, I guess, for city staff, could there be a situation where we could issue a permit to just one car for this individual? I know that this is a very extraordinary case. I don't like to set off bad precedents, but it's very clear, given how very narrow this driveway is, that this creates a situation that may portend to some sort of permit that we could issue. Is that possible or not?
A permit?
Just a street parking permit for this individual, that's all.
So if the stretch of street is no parking,
there's nothing we can do.
Then permit wouldn't be sold, A, and B, that wouldn't solve the concerns of the other citizens, because they're saying when their vehicle's parked there that there's issues for emergency vehicles and for their plowing, garbage pickup, et cetera. So I think I don't know if that would solve anything. I mean, you can either allow them to park there or you can't.
Okay.
Might I say just one thing? If he goes down 20 feet, there's parking on both sides of the road.
Is there? Okay.
So that's one of those roads where it's no parking for one block, and then, or there's one-way street for one block, and it's a two-way street. Just right past our house is a two-way street.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bulow.
That's all, Jim. Thank you.
I'll admit, this is a little embarrassing for me because with the gentleman's concerns aside, I think this is a no-brainer. And I drive on that street about 4 times a day because it's between me and the YMCA. So running my kid back and forth to the Y. And I drive a passenger pickup truck, a Dodge Ram 1500, not a huge truck, but there's times where I pull up to that street, I'm like, nope. And I, go down further out of my way. I tend to agree with everything that was said here tonight. It is too narrow. I bike there, I walk my dogs past there, and it is almost impossible to get 2 vehicles through there at one time. I wish I would have thought of it.
Any other council members or Mr. Spanbauer? going to be honest, I don't know that I have, this isn't going to be received well. I don't know that I have enough information to vote yes or no tonight. I would like a little more time. This isn't a have to do tonight. If we lay it over for one meeting to allow for maybe a little bit more, I want more time for myself to be able to interact with maybe, interact a bit more on the topic. So I would suggest possibly laying this over. I don't know what council's appetite is for that. I don't want to vote it down, because then we can't bring it back if I'm the only one that votes against it. So I would like to move to lay this over to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
I already said why I want to do it. So I guess I don't need to give too much more of a description. Any discussion on possibly laying it over and the impacts of it?
I will say that I'd rather it laid over than defeated, so I'll vote in the affirmative. But I'd rather it pass today, but I will vote to lay it over since it's one or the other.
Okay. Did you have something you wanted to say? You looked like you wanted to.
I was just going to say I'd rather get more information if it means we're not voting it down tonight and then it's dead.
Okay. City Clerk, if you could take the roll on laying over 25-556 to the next regularly scheduled council meeting on November the 11th, I believe.
Flom,
Aye.
Could I just ask the council members, I'm sorry, please just, if you get a chance, just go down there.
That's the plan, but the amount of interaction that's happening once council's discussion actually needs to be reduced significantly tonight. If you could continue the roll on 25-556.
Flom,
Aye.
On the laying.
On the layout.
Yes,
Yep.
on the lay it over.
yep. Bealow,
Aye.
Spanbauer,
Aye.
Mughwar.
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
Thank you. 25-557, convert permit parking to app-based paid parking on High Avenue. Transportation Committee recommends approval of this item as well.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on this item. I see none. Take the roll on 25-557.
Flom,
Aye.
Bealow,
Aye.
Spanbauer,
Aye.
Mughwar.
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
Given that Councilmember Stevenson is, Deputy Mayor Stevenson is still not here, and we're moving right along, I need to motion to lay over to the next regularly scheduled meeting, Resolution 25-558. If I can get a second.
Second.
We need 5 to vote on this, to be able to pass.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
He did let me know he's on his way. I don't know the timing.
You may want to just move it to the end of the meeting with the other one for the moment.
If you'll remove your second, I'll remove my motion to lay over.
My second.
Okay. I'm going to make a new motion. Motion to amend the agenda to move Resolution 25-558 and 25-559 to the very end of the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? When you're ready, if you could take the roll on amending the agenda for those 2 items.
Flom,
Aye.
Bealow,
Aye.
Spanbauer,
Aye.
Mughwar.
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
I had something I wanted to say about making sure we get a new person appointed to the empty seat as quick as possible. Resolution 25-560, approve professional services agreement with OpenGov for permitting and licensing software through 2030, and a corresponding budget amendment. I can have a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on this. Do you want to?
Yeah, I can go through it. This
Give us
is
a
a
little
budget
background.
amendment too, but I understand the ETA is 2 minutes.
I didn't even realize before I put it on the floor. You don't have to go there unless you.
Well, I would prefer to.
Oh, you do what you want to do.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to go over an opportunity that we have to change our permitting and licensing system and provide 24/7 access for people to interact with us. They can still come in to City Hall and apply for things, but this will give a more robust opportunity for residents and businesses. So Right now, we have a few challenges with when people interact with us. We have some fragmented systems. We have a lot of different electronic systems. We have a lot of manual processes. For the electronic systems, one of the programs we use, every time we need to change something, we need to contact the vendor. And most of the time, we'll have to pay. If we want to add new things online, we have to pay them to develop that. We have people that are frustrated with having to go from one department to another department for different applications. We don't really have a way to look at the comprehensive analytics of things, and then we also have challenges of locating records. If we have record requests, we are searching through paper records, looking in a variety of different places. So we're looking at having a licensing and permitting from OpenGov. These are some of the types of licenses and permits that we can utilize through there. It's not limited to this. It's an unlimited amount of things that we can add, processes. In my previous employer, we had over 150 processes. So people would ask for record requests, they'd ask for ambulance reports, all types of things. The C-click fix that we use here was done through that. So it's very scalable to anything that we need. And this is just the process that you go through. The people come in, we can route it electronically. We can schedule inspections online and then renew things if we need to. And then here's just some items of why going with OpenGov. It's a really easy program. You don't need to be a developer to do that, to schedule workflows. There's an estimated ROI of $75,000 to $100,000 in labor savings. It also improves resident communications. We're able to update people by the minute. They'll get a notification if someone changes their inspection, or if they need to give us something more, they'll get immediate notification. And then the Amazon-like experience, I don't know if it's as good as Amazon, but it's probably closer to Amazon than most other governmental software. And then transparency and performance management. And then, as I mentioned before, there's unlimited amount of things that we could put in there. So any type of process. And then this is just an estimated return on investment that the software company provides. This is analysis we did. We currently use Evolve for some of our alcohol licenses and some of our community development permits. So the annual fee is $17,500, but then, as I mentioned before, every time you want to add something or change something, you're paying for them to do that. So in the last couple of years, that's between $15,000 and $30,000. We also have the C-click fix. That's $28,000 that this would replace, still giving the same opportunities for people to submit their request and issues. So the total legacy would be $45,000, but then we were also going to look at new record request software so we could manage, because sometimes when people request records, they go to all different departments, and it's hard to keep track to make sure that we get the information back. So we were looking at that. So those would all be absorbed. So there's an additional cost per year, but the additional cost is outweighed by the benefits, I believe. And then there's a one-time implementation cost that's listed there. And then this is just the scope of what they're going to be doing. They're going to actually be building some of the records for us to get us started, but then they're also training staff. So we'll have a person pretty much from every department that's an expert. So they can update workflows, update letters, emails, things like that. It just makes it a lot easier and smoother when people in the departments can do that. That's all I had.
All right. Council questions? Mr. Flom?
Just more of a statement. I want to thank city staff for their work on this. We talk about modernizing our processes, saving money, streamlining operations, and making things easier for residents. This is part of that. So I believe this will pay for itself over time. The ROI is apparent. I know there's been a lot of frustrations with C-Click Fix as well as the just hours and operations for that as well. So I think this helps solve that issue. And we had a lot of suggestions with the code audit that we did, and this is a process of implementing those. So this is not a list of recommendations that is going to sit and gather dust on a shelf. This is something we're actively going to take and implement, and this is a part of that. So thank you.
Mr. Bealow?
Making government easier to use, I think, is always a good thing. I've gotten a couple of the permits, and I'm not a city planner like some other people, and when they told me, no, you need to go to planning, no, you need to go to inspections, no, you need to go and bounce around the second floor and try to figure everything out, it was frustrating, and the staff was great trying to walk me through it, but they spoke a language that I didn't, and I think having this available online to be able to help everybody understand and navigate that. I saw even special use permits, like we have a lot of parades and different people using things like that, being able to just automate that and make it a lot easier is so fantastic.
Okay. No, similar comments. Making city processes easier for not only residents, but our business community too, right? Our developers and the development and people who want to do things to their homes and things like that, making that process available to them, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, electronic format for those who are comfortable with it. Doesn't stop people from still coming in, but definitely makes it more accessible. Some of the things from your slide that I just kind of want to actually note, we're already a leader in how quickly we turn around permits, but to possibly be doing that even faster is a huge thing. It's a major convenience thing for not only the residents, but our business community. Having fewer walk-ins can also allow staff to actually do higher value tasks. Not that interacting with folks isn't a high value task, not suggesting that in any way, but if that's a process that can be automated, that's something we should be striving for, and that's a good thing. As well as being able to schedule inspections and things like that rapidly and getting responses quickly. Those are things that can help this community and help continue development continue and make us a more business-friendly environment. Those are all positive things. So this was a goal of councils to work to improve within our economic development space in our inspections area, and this is a big step in that right direction. So happy to support it, and happy we're here as quick as we are moving forward with it. So there's nothing else. If you'll take the roll on 25-560.
Flom.
Aye.
Bealow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Muglauer.
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
25-561, approved development agreement with Habitat for Humanity of Oshkosh, Inc. for sale of 9 lots located at Washington School Workforce Housing Subdivision. I'll take a motion in a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Discussion on this item. Mr. Beulah.
I'll just say that although I don't comment often on Facebook, I do lurk, and there's always people on there blasting that we're having multifamily, multi-unit development going on and not enough single-family development that's affordable. And I was telling them, this is coming, and I think it's an amazing step in the right direction. We have a couple single-family unit developments coming, and we are focused on housing of all sorts. And I just wanted to point that out because I don't do it on Facebook for many reasons. Mostly because Lynn tells us that is not a good idea.
Go right ahead.
I don't do what Lynn tells me. No. I do what Lynn tells me. No, same sentiments. Very happy this is coming forward. I guess I would just like to give the floor to Community Development Director and give a little bit of a background on this and just talk up this project, I guess.
Absolutely.
So we're very excited that it's finally gotten to this point where we purchased the school using ARPA funds. We demoed the school. We're working on getting the site ready right now with our right-of-way work, our grading, our stormwater, so that it is literally shovel-ready. Hoping to have both Habitat and the city's 9 lots break ground next spring, with the potential of at least 8 of them being ready to go next year. So this is huge. This is huge for us because this isn't anything we've ever done before. Truly, we don't see a lot of municipalities building single-family homes or looking to do that, but as the counselor said, we know we need this, and we're trying to find housing in a variety of areas in a variety of ways in our community. So this is one of many first steps.
I'm happy we get to partner with Habitat. They've done excellent work in this community up to this point. I expect nothing less from them continuing to move forward, but it's great to have that strong partnership with Habitat and be able to welcome some more Habitat homes into the east side of Oshkosh and just into Oshkosh. So I'm thankful for them and their partnership with us.
Yes, it's been an amazing partnership. I'm very happy to continue working closely with them on this.
There's no other comments on this one. If you can take the roll on 25-561.
Flom.
Aye.
Buelow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Mughwauer.
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
Resolution 25-562, approve 2026 Business Improvement District Operating Plan and Budget.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. See none. Please take the roll.
Flom.
Aye.
Buelow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Mughwauer.
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
Resolution 25-563, this is to approve the 2026 through 2035 Capital Improvement Program. I have no one registered to speak. I'll take a motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion. Don't everybody jump at it. City manager or finance director want to give anything on this, or do you just want me to ramble for a little bit? Nobody wants to hear me speak, so.
Do you want to talk?
Didn't that register?
I don't have anybody registered for this, but we can welcome somebody.
Is that the capital?
Yes.
Capital Improvement Program, yes.
Yeah.
Come on up, sir. I need you at this one if you could. And if you could give us your name and address when you get there. Welcome.
My name is Bruce Baier, B-A-I-E-R, and I'm at 3196 Clareville Road. This is the big improvement on Clareville Road. They're going to put sewer and water in. And I spoke on it last time, that it was brought up. It was not acted on last time. And one of the problems is still the same problem. There's 4 houses in the half a mile for sewer and water, so they can go to a new a subdivision that's being created. And I've got to pay for it, so somebody else can make the money off of it. And I don't, I don't really agree with the whole idea, because it's costing $4 million for 4 houses for sewer and water that is going to be paid for by me to add sewer and water. And I have a well and a septic that's been working for over 50 years. And now there's a very, very, very big cost to me for this, so someone else can make money off it. The other thing is the road is going to be tore up for 2 years. They're going to do half the road 1 year, half the road the next year, and they don't have sewer and water on 9th Street up to Clareville. So it's good. It's going to be a long time before they get the whole project done. So my road is going to be torn up for 2 years plus. So I don't think it's a good idea unless you got some ideas other than putting sewer and water in there, because there is sewer and water available that comes from the east to where the subdivision's going in. And the city is making the 4 people that live on Clareville pay for this new subdivision of water. It's not right. So I would recommend you do not accept it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council or city staff? Welcome.
Hello. So the 2026, 2035 CIP program, we talked about it at a June budget workshop. We talked about it again at our most recent workshop. I have a memo in the packet to kind of go over some of the changes based off of the last council discussion at the budget workshops that have been made. One of the main ones is the I-41 project has been pulled from this CIP so that we can have a budget workshop to discuss it after the November 4th budget hearing. But if there's any other questions about the CIP, I'm here to help or answer to the best of my ability.
Council, any questions? So, not surprising, I have a couple. Actually, Mr. Robbie, would you mind joining us? We'll chat about Clearville Road first, a little bit if you don't mind. I've had similar thoughts and similar concerns on the need for this project at this time. You and I have interacted on it. Can you basically tell us in a nutshell, why do we need to do this section of Clearville right now? There is no impending development along Clearville. Can you tell us, the reasons why we need to do this project right now?
Yeah, there's a few things that have gone into putting this in the schedule. One, there's been a lot of inquiries about getting development moving on Clearville Road, and the first question that's always asked is, well, when are utilities going to be available? And so in order to schedule it and get things moving and be able to meet timelines that developers would like to see, we need to kind of work ahead a little bit. But I think a bigger concern from a health and safety standpoint that I have as Public Works Director is currently right now with the water main, there is a single point of failure that if there's a water main break in that area, currently 125 homes and soon to be another 30 to 90 more will be without water for several days because there is no looped water system. It comes through Mockingbird and there is a single point of failure between Casey and I forget the next one to the east of it. But at some point in time there will be a break there, and if there is not a looped system there, it will be several days before those homes have water again. And in the meantime, there will be a boil water order for all of those homes.
Because this is considered, do we actually consider this new construction or reconstruction?
New construction.
This is new?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This was part of the city that was annexed in a little bit ago, right?
Yes.
So, some of the costs, the biggest, if I was a property owner in this space, right, the gentleman has this is a common theme we've heard some other residents along Clearville Road and other areas, right? I have working septic, I have working well, I don't need your city utility services right now. But we do a project and we will specially assess those property owners. That also means those very large segments of agricultural land are going to get assessed significantly as well. That whole stretch along the east side will get assessed under this program. Is that right?
Correct.
The west side of that road isn't within our boundaries right now.
Correct.
So nobody over there is going to get a special assessment for any work over there.
Yet.
If they were to want to attach, either voluntarily or if in the future we have annexation in that space, they would then be charged for that at that time. Is that still correct? And that charge would probably be based upon?
It would be based upon the rates at the time of construction that took place.
So if it was 5, 10, 20 years from now, they would still be paying what the other property owners paid. So in terms of equity, there would be a bit of balance in the future. Okay. I know this council struggled with the construction project impact to the residents to the south. That would be basically between 20th and 91, roughly, over the last year or two. We still struggle with that. We've had staff working on deferral policies and other things. In fact, that's on the agenda later in the evening tonight. No matter what, under current, not only city policy, but even state public service commission policies and state statutes, the property owners are going to pay this cost. There really isn't much we have control over other than not doing the project. Is that relatively fair or accurate to say?
The regulations for the water from the Public Service Commission would say the utility ratepayers would not be, shall not be charged for that extension. That doesn't mean that there might not be other ways that it could be paid for, but the utility ratepayers shall not pay for it, and that's where it goes into special assessments, and that's what's included in our rate file is a discussion about special assessments, and if properties are not in the city, then it becomes a connection charge when they do, in this case, attach to the city.
Okay. I'm not so certain that we have a great path forward for these types of situations. I'm also very well aware of the property owners on 9th Ave just a couple years ago experienced a very similar situation where we reconstructed 9th and there was significant special assessments that those properties paid, property owners paid and ratepayers paid. Okay. That's enough for me on that one. The other questions I have actually may be best for maybe Ms. Grill or maybe finance. It's really the Fire Station 15 and the Fire Training Center. Fire Station 15, we're being told that it is a requirement to add a elevator to that station as part of this remodel. That's a state, well, I should have given a heads up to have Mr. Urban here tonight. That's a state requirement, is what I'm understanding, that they're saying we are modifying too much of the existing structure and have to basically add this in, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Right, building code.
I love the state when they tell us to do things. That's a significant cost up front, as well as long-term maintenance is actually more of my concern than anything. Elevators are not cheap to continuously maintain. So I'm not a fan of that. If there's any way possible that that can be mitigated in any way, I would be a fan of that. I understand accessibility issues. The firehouse has operated well for decades. I just don't know that that's needed in that space, so I just wanted to share that. I'll approve with it in there, but I really would like it if there's a creative way of not including that. Fire Training Center, I chatted a little bit about, we have a big placeholder dollar amount that's a really big dollar amount, 14 million, I think it is, right? Sorry, I'm bouncing around on my...
14 million over 3 years.
There it is. And I made a comment about, if we put a placeholder in there, a firm who does the study for us and the architect are going to find a way to spend all 14 million that we allocated for it. I'm not a fan of 14 million for that site. I understand there's some things that staff may think we may need to protect against, land and other things. I think we've got some industrial parks that are land that is already ours and we may not need to pay for. That would be one area of savings, but I'm not a fan of 4 million for 26. I'm not a fan of 14 million over 3 years. Personally, if I had to pick a number, I'd be closer to 10. So I may seek to amend here, I guess if council has any thoughts on it, but I may seek to amend that specific dollar amount down. And if it needs to be bigger in the future, staff can always come back to us a budget amendment. We had several tonight, and we haven't done anything on this. So 14 is a big number, and I'm just not a fan of that number. Mr. Flomenfeld, Mr. Bulow, if you want to go off of mine or other comments, the floor is yours.
Mr. Mayor, this reminds me a lot of the discussion that we had last year about City Hall renovations and placeholder numbers. And this is where I get the same level of consternation as you do on the matter. So I would support revising that number down. I would, instead of allocating more money and finding ways to spend more money up front, I'd rather allocate less money. And if there is a legitimate need to spend more in the future, that's one thing. But just because we can doesn't mean we should. So for that, I'd be happy to support revising that number down.
Mr. Belo?
I was just curious at where you came up with 10. I also don't like 14. 10 also seems high, but, what do you have to say 10?
A little bit of spitballing, just like I think maybe this number was. We were told that it was a number that they chose. I also did some research in terms of other municipalities who have done public safety training centers, square footage needs, and again, we know that 27 and 28, nothing's guaranteed in those capital improvements. They're there, they're in the plan, and funding will be whatever it needs to be when the time is right for the project. And again, even if we approve a project within this plan tonight, one, we still have to approve the entire budget in 2 weeks, and again, we have to approve it when we take on debt for the project, and we have to approve the actual issuance of the contract as well. We have multiple times to make something right in the future, was my thoughts on this one as well. But I think my comments haven't changed much from the last couple budget meetings, that it's a big number, and I'm just not a fan of that big placeholder.
And just so, we can be clear what we're voting for, because it is split out to 455, how would you want to get to the 10? Like, do you have a preference?
Would staff be okay if I said revising it down to 10 million and you figure out how to balance it over the 3 years, knowing that it sure seems unlikely we're going to advance much in 26 on this project, given that we're already in October, and to do the analysts, do the design work, bid it, start construction, it sure doesn't seem like 12 months on something like this is very feasible to me. So I don't know how much we would actually expend in 26, and we can't take on more debt than we should for this. To me, it almost seems like we should be taking on the debt in 27, even if we started the project in 26, quite honestly, in terms of how it's laid out. But I'm not a finance director, and we're all thankful that I'm not, so.
In general, we're moving to that direction of taking out debt more towards the end of the project versus the beginning because of those types of situations. So, not having the engineering background or the facilities, I personally probably agree with you that I don't see a lot being done in 2026. So are you thinking like maybe a 244?
I could do 244, I could do 14545, whatever it takes to get this thing lower, especially in 26.
So one of the things, this was one of the items that we were going to put in for the non-state grant, and the matching is up to $2 million.
So 2 million would be a really good number for 26, you're saying? It's okay to say.
Yes.
244 sounds great. You gonna make the motion?
Yes, but I just want to make sure everybody else has a chance to speak to this before I start amending and cutting them off, so. Any other CIP stuff you want to chat about? Floor is yours.
Yeah, I know this is maybe shooting from the hip, but is 14 million the number that this gets done, or was that really just
I believe it was an estimate.
Okay.
So at the inception of this project, there's been discussion from, if you recall, from Sawyer Street with the fire department, working with that building, and then also with the planning that we were working towards for a police training facility 5 years out. And the council last year thought wisely, I think, that a joint center would save us some costs because we'd have synergies within the building itself. I will tell you that in reviewing some of the training centers that have been built, Nina added an addition on their police training center, and it was $8 million, and that was about 2 years ago. Working with an architect, probably 6 years ago, we had gotten some preliminary costs associated with the police training center. Costs are always going up, they're not going down. So The number is not a design number yet. We actually are reviewing RFPs for the architect to begin the study of what this will actually look like. And we would have a better number probably by the first or second quarter of next year. But I will tell you that $4 million won't build it.
Sure. And that's, I guess, what I kind of assumed, and maybe this is also what you're kind of getting at, Mayor, too, that it's probably unlikely that we'll spend $4 million in 2026 with engineering and architecture acquisition. That's the number that probably needs to come down. But in the end, if the architect comes back and says it is $14 million to build it, we're going to have to reassess. So yeah, I'm more than okay if we're whittling that 2026 number down, but I also just don't want to make, I guess, promises that this could come down. It could be a completely different number, I guess, is what I want to highlight. So it very well might end up being 14 million, but anyway.
And we can certainly, again, if we come back and the architect says we can get this accomplished in 2026, we would certainly come back to council and say, we can get this accomplished in 2026 and defer to you to really give us direction where we would want to go with it.
I think, before I go to Mr. Buell, I think this year I haven't heard myself, any council member, against moving forward with a public safety training center.
Right.
Last year we had different discussions and some different reasons for pausing. And that was, I think that was appropriate at the time. Again, this is moving forward, no indication that we're not interested in moving forward. I have no idea on the scope, and so I shouldn't be expected to know what the actual thing should be, and I may not be here when it comes time, like, well, I should be in 26, but the next council will have it was approved for 14 million, so you could do it. Well, because we did it doesn't mean we have to, and
right.
I would prefer to protect the future council and the taxpayers if I can, and this is my way of somewhat doing that early in the process to ensure that this is the most fiscally sound possible project. Doesn't always mean the least expensive, and again, we don't know the scope. We don't know what we don't know yet, and so that's where I'm just, this is a spitball number to me. That's the way I'm taking it, and I can be wrong. I'm okay being wrong. But in my chair at the moment, I'm trying to say, that's a big number, and I want to learn more before I'm comfortable with that big of a number. But I am comfortable with, I'm saying I'm comfortable with 10 in the budget for now.
And from my experiences in being project management on building police headquarters and substations and precincts and a lot of things in my career, you're right. It's going to take a little bit of time to get to that number. And it's going to take sitting in a room and developing what the plan looks like. What are the true needs for both fire and police? So it will take some time for us to get there. And we probably won't be turning dirt until late in the season next year, possibly.
Okay. Mr. Bulow.
You made many of the points that I was thinking, and you said them eloquently, but I'd rather shoot for 10 and have it come in at 12 and have us be like, okay, we can make that adjustment, than shoot for 14 and have it come in for 16 and have to make that conversation. But I also want to just say publicly and on the record that if we put 10 in there and it comes in at 12, that doesn't mean it's a no for me. That this was just a preliminary target. And for future councils, if they want to look back to this, to know that at least that's where I was. I won't speak for council, but I don't want it to get pigeonholed into this is project overrun and expansion without, constraints.
Anything else on CIP-related matters? Otherwise, I'll do a motion to amend. I motion to amend, where are we at? 25563, specifically the Joint Public Safety Training Center, reducing the 2026 funding number to 2 million, 2027 and 2028 to each 4 million, so a total of $10 million over the 3 years. Is my motion to amend.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion to amend? I see none. If you'll take the roll on motion to amend as written.
Flom.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Muglauer.
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
Now we have the motion, we have 25563 as amended on the floor. Any further comments, questions? I want to thank staff, city manager, your staff, finance, public works, every department head. This is only part of the budget process. It's a big part. For those writing or listening at home, our capital improvement budget, minus my adjustment that we just made, a little over $97 million worth of capital improvement projects in the city of Oshkosh are planned for 2026. This includes whether it's physical buildings, roads, utilities, vehicles, equipment, everything that we invest in. That's the plan for 2026. And I'm happy to support it, and I'm thankful for staff's diligence in the process and getting us not only this, but a very appealing budget in terms of the overall, what we're going to talk about at their next regularly scheduled meeting, but the levy and all those things. So again, a lot of thanks to staff for all the effort that's gone into this throughout the entire calendar year, because it takes a lot of time. So I want to say thank you. With that, if there's nothing else, take the roll on 25-563 as it was amended.
Flom,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Spanbauer,
Aye.
Mugwauer,
Aye.
carried 5-0.
We have 3 resolutions that were, right, they were all resolutions? Yes, 3 resolutions that were laid over earlier in the meeting, or the agenda was adjusted. First up will be number 4, 25-540. Resolution approving support of a city grant application for Grants for Local Projects program. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Bulow.
I'll be voting present as I have a potential or foreseen conflict.
Okay. No other comments? If you'll take the roll on 25-540.
Flom,
Aye.
Bulow,
Present.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Spanbauer,
Aye.
Mugwauer.
Aye. 25-558, this was number 22 on the agenda. Approved budget amendment for police department's operating budget for technology upgrades. This is in the amount of $10,200. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Which one was that again? 25,558.
When
We're
you're
putting you through the ringer tonight, Cheryl.
Yeah, you kind of are.
It's her last meeting with us as well as the interim city clerk too.
Yes.
So we are trying her tonight, right? If you can take the roll on 25-558 when you're ready.
Flom,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Spanbauer,
Aye.
Mugwauer.
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
Number 23, which is 25-559, approved 2025 CIP budget amendment and approved cooperative purchase of service body from Monroe Truck Equipment for the Water Utility Division.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Please take the roll on 25-559.
Flom,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Spanbauer,
Aye.
Mugwauer.
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
Next up, that's the last of the action items for this evening. Now we move into council discussion, direction of city manager, as well as future agenda items. We have a couple items that are in this area, and we have some folks who would like to speak to us before we chat about it. First up, UTV, ATV use on city streets. I have, first up, Christopher followed by a Keith Doxrud. There we go. If Mr. Christopher Driscoll could come up, if Christopher's still here. Oh, yep, and then followed by Keith. And welcome. If we can keep it to 5 minutes and the topic at hand, which is the ATV, UTV.
My speech was 6 minutes long. Dang.
We'll give an extra.
Yeah. My name is Christopher Driscoll. I reside at 426 Dove Street. I'm here tonight to ask the council to move forward on approving ATVs and UTVs on city streets here in Oshkosh. Earlier today, we were talking about things that Oshkosh is being a leader in, and I think this is one of those opportunities that we have. We're in a unique position to be a leader in something that no other city our size has been able to do so far. So I think this is a really good chance. Let's not let it go to waste. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Keith? Welcome, sir. And then followed by David Schmidt. You'll be on deck.
Nice, Keith Oxford, 449 Dove Street, and I'm here on the ATV thing. And right off the last time that we were here and Dave came up and started talking, we had a great feeling when we left. Everybody kind of voted yes to move forward. And then I seen this on the Herald, and it kind of just went, we were at that meeting that kind of got not to go forward at all. And that was the Transportation Committee, and they claimed not to know much about it. And I was like, how do you not know about that's transportation? And it really just felt down when we left. So we hope that you can go forward on this. And I've also made some things where I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and every third, fourth vehicle in Phoenix was an ATV. And I was like on a 6-lane road that's busier than heck. And they didn't seem to have a problem. And I think with 1.6 million people in that city compared to 67 here, I wouldn't think there'd be much of a problem. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Schmidt. Welcome.
Thank you and good evening. I'm Dave Schmidt. I live on Walnut Street here in the city of Oshkosh, president of Fox River Wheelers, and also chairman of the Winnebago County ATV UTV Alliance. I've presented to the council a couple of times. I've presented to the Transportation Committee. We encourage you to take this unique opportunity to make Oshkosh first in permitting ATV and UTVs to come into this city. Winnebago County is unique. We have nearly 10,000 machines registered in Winnebago County, which contribute nearly $105 million to the Winnebago County economy. None of those dollars are currently coming into the city. The economic impact study, and I made copies of that was done in 2003, and unfortunately I didn't have enough to make a copy for everyone, but I would like to submit that to you. Okay? Shows all the different ways that this money is spent in Wisconsin, where $5 billion in economic impact is done every year. That's why Winnebago County ranks 14th. Oshkosh deserves the opportunity for this. We allow golf carts, we allow other kinds of off-road vehicles or motorcycles. We're seeing mini bikes and everything else running all over the city. This afternoon I had an incident on Knapp Street where a young man on an e-bike ran right out in front of me on 6th Street, right in front of Sacred Heart, looking at his cell phone. If I wouldn't have hit my brakes, I wouldn't be here this evening. I'd be very upset and probably would be visiting with the chief in the police department about a fatality. This is a unique opportunity for the council to take a look at the ordinance that could be formulated. I read through all the Polco submissions, all 1,400 of them, and it really shows there's a little bit of misunderstanding about what UTVs and ATVs are, what e-bikes are, and what these motorized scooters are, and it really shows a lot of frustration with the way people drive in our community. And I think this is a great opportunity to put this together and set a good, solid framework that can be regulated, because without regulation, what is our police department supposed to take part in? How are they supposed to enforce a regulation that doesn't exist? I think this is a truly great opportunity. I encourage you to move forward, and I'm more than willing to continue working with Ms. Grill and her staff, as I've had the pleasure to do in a couple of meetings. They're very good to work with, and I encourage you to please keep moving us forward. And if I can submit this?
Yeah, if you want to bring it up here, we'll.
Just give it to Brad, he'll summarize it for us.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else who, Ms. Diener, if you could. If we could stick to the UTV, ATV at this time, please.
You guys all talk about four-wheel. Four-wheel hasn't stopped. It's been doing this illegal for a long time. Because you have a four-wheeler, don't mean you can go down the street, do what you want. Goes to, like the other one I'm gonna talk about, it's not right. It's gonna be even more causing accidents because people don't stop. They think they can just keep going, and I'm not for it.
Thank you, Ms. Diener. Is there anyone else in the audience who wanted to speak on this before we bring it to council's discussion? I see none. Council, it's ours to discuss with city staff. Mr. Hartman, who chairs the Transportation Committee, is also here to help on this one, I think, as well as the e-bike regulation one that'll be next. If we have questions from anything related to the Transportation Committee and their actions or recommendation or no recommendation, Mr. Hartman's here as well. Floor is yours.
I guess I can go first. I didn't really want to, but it's fine. I've gotten to watch all of the Transportation Committee review of it. I've read the Polco. For full transparency, I grew up on a farm and have ATVs, UTVs. We still have a family farm where we have UTVs. One of the comparisons that comes up a lot is that we allow motorcycles on the roads and some LSV, low-speed vehicle golf carts. Having worked in engineering for low-speed golf carts, those are engineered differently than an off-road golf cart. They're engineered to be used on the road. The motorcycle is engineered, licensed to be used on the road. The UTVs and ATVs are engineered and designed to be used off-road and then made to work on road. You know, they use on-road tires. They will add, some of them already have lights, some of them add lights, and they do work. I don't see a need, I don't see a benefit to allowing this downtown Oshkosh. I totally understand why the club is in favor of it. I understand why some people want this. To be honest, it's not what I want to see downtown. It's not what I think is going to be the safest for our residents, especially with everything else going on in the streets, as people have said, and people put in Polco, and you know, it was pretty divided in there. But overall, I'm going to be a no on advancing this. And when it came to us the first time, I was an emphatic yes on wanting to learn more about it. And I'm glad that we did. I'm glad that our Transportation Committee took it up. I'm glad that we've gotten the pulse of the public. But at this time, one of the things that was mentioned is that there's large group rides of these that go on, and I understand the economic impact of those, and I can understand that can be very fun, but the idea of 16 of these coming down Main Street together is not something that I want to see downtown. And that's my personal opinion on it, and it seems to be the opinion of a lot of people that have reached out to me on this topic. The other item of this, of course, is the DUI. We've talked about the DUI. The Transportation Committee talked about the DUI issue. If that alone was to get fixed, I would be more interested in hearing about it, but the fact that somebody who does have DUIs and lost their license can still operate these if they're over 18, that is a huge red flag for me already. That's something, and I know that you guys advocate, because you've said that you've advocated for having that change, and when that change gets made, it's something I would take a look at it again, but it's something that I can't support at this time.
Mr. Flom.
I have a slightly different take on this. For me, this has to do with a number of things, but mainly the fact is consistency and a framework. The county has adopted an ordinance allowing ATVs and UTVs. And so for the city, what this presents is a situation where the county land surrounds us. And so we're going to have more and more of these ATVs and UTVs within our borders, regardless of whether we like it or not. So for me, what I wanted to see happen through this process and what I was hoping for is a bit of framework to help flesh out where ATVs and UTVs can go in the city, the routes to get them from people's homes to the trail system. That's what I'm primarily interested in, getting them from homes to the trail system, and how we can make that happen and have that availability. I know the Transportation Committee complained about the lack of a wheel tax. We can impose a registration fee if we want. That's something we have in state law. Personally, I was a bit disappointed by the lack of second. I wanted a more definitive answer from the committee, and this is something that I would still like to pursue, and I am open to hearing other ideas about how we can get to yes on this point. For me, I want an avenue and an outlet for people who own ATVs and UTVs to get from their homes to the trail system in the county. That's what I want to see. My colleagues may think differently, but this is where I stand on the matter.
Go right ahead. Floor is yours.
At the first meeting, I also was, I guess, convinced of the potential economic impacts of, moving forward with allowing ATVs and UTVs onto city streets. I would say I'm somewhere between Councilmember Bulow and Councilmember Flom. I think there are potential avenues through which regulations, restrictions could be set in place to allow for ATVs and UTVs to be used in certain places or at certain times of the year. I know ice fishing was one that particularly people brought up. So if there is a process by which we can design guardrails to ensure that happens, I think that's worth looking into. I do want to note that as Councilmember Bulow mentioned, I also overwhelmingly received direct calls, voicemails, emails asking us to oppose this for safety concerns, for other concerns. I do just want to specifically point out that we did receive notification from the Recreational Off-Highway Vehicle Association and the Special Vehicle Institute of America. This was back in August. These are two entities that seem to deal with regulation, sale of ATVs and UTVs, and both of these organizations oppose the legislation allowing for ATVs on paved roads, not on designated trail systems, because ATV manufacturers design, test, and sell ATVs for off-highway use only. Unlike cars and trucks, ATVs do not meet federal motor vehicle safety standards. Misuse of ATVs causes the majority of accidents and injuries. I know that also city safety staff have just raised concerns about having to pull potentially more people over or just deal with potential safety concerns with this. So I guess the position I am in is I would like to see this discussed a little bit more. I'd like to see this looked into a little bit further. That's where I'm at.
Deputy Mayor, if you want it, it's yours.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I don't want to beat a horse to death here, but for me, when I first went into this, I maybe naively thought they were regulated the same way as a motorcycle. I guess that's where my line kind of is. If this thing is regulated the exact same way as other vehicles are, I don't care. But if there are, it sounds like there are a lot of loopholes, one of them being the DUI loophole. And I guess I did want to call staff up here and talk a little bit about, I heard some things about like insurability of these. Are they required to have insurance? And then also, I know we talked a little bit about whether or not I think the state says you can be 16 and ride them. Is the city allowed to say it has to be 18? I guess some of those. And then also if there's any background on transportation committee stuff that happened that we're missing up here. But again, I guess my feeling right now is that I on some of these questions that need to be answered, I don't think that they're going to be regulated in a manner that I would feel comfortable with in our city right now.
So there was a lot of question there.
Yes.
I will actually defer to the president of the UTV Association as it relates to the insurance requirements, because I don't have that in here. Could you help me with that one?
That was placed, that's being placed in almost every county ordinance.
Right.
And that was placed in the county ordinance, as well as Sheriff Motts and many of the other county sheriffs are putting in a valid operating license as a requirement. In other words, if you have a revoked license,
Sir, can I actually have you come up to the microphone if you're going to speak? That way it can be picked up completely. I appreciate your willingness. Thank you.
when the county ordinance was written, and many other county sheriffs are doing this as well, if it states that you have to have a valid operator's license. And Sheriff Motts is insistent on this because that was his concern as well. Well, if you have a revoked license or suspended license because of a DUI or anything else, then you can't jump on one of these machines. And if you do have one and you're riding it and your license is revoked, you automatically be able to be cuffed and taken in. Okay? There's also, in effect, we talked earlier with committee about treble damages. And that already exists for treble damages if there's cost to public property. So if you were to cause an accident, they could be possibly held for treble damages.
So to speak to the violation of a licensure requirement that we could put on that, if one of our officers were to stop somebody and they didn't have a license, it would not be a violation of state code. It would be a violation of our municipal code, which would be a ticket. So it's a little different than driving under revocation. It's just a violation of our municipal code.
And then, I guess in that vein, if you were to get violations of municipal code, could you ever have your license taken away because you violated municipal code too many times, or is that just?
No.
Okay.
No.
And then also on the question of insurability, I guess, with the county's ordinance, do they require that they carry insurance?
Within the county's ordinance, there is an insurance requirement associated with that.
And is that enforceable? How are they?
Again, if you violated the ordinance, it would be an ordinance ticket.
It's just an ordinance, okay.
It's just an ordinance ticket.
And it's becoming more regular across county ordinances across.
Sure.
Because with the state now, we have over 65,000 miles of road routes. And so more and more counties are implementing insurance requirements, and that requirement is equal to minimum automobile requirements.
Okay.
The real teeth, the real only teeth that we have would be an ordinance fine.
Sure.
On a violation of our ordinance.
Okay. I think that answers the majority. No, I think that answers my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Flum.
I just would like to add a few things. I mean, the county, by the Y and the tennis center in Sunnyview and the county park, that road is going to be open for ATVs and UTVs soon because some of that's going to be outside the city limits. So I think there's going to be a lot of confusion going on in the next few months. So this is why, again, I would call for some framework on this. I mean, we can implement rather high fines and fees for violations of city ordinances. We did that with the fireworks. We said there's no real teeth in state law, but what we can do is we can do our part and have an officer to have discretion to impose some rather hefty fines that would serve as a deterrent for driving without insurance or having fireworks in the other case. On top of that, we can have this in permanent review where we could pull the plug on this if it got out of hand at any point in time where we wanted to, where we could give the city manager and the police chief unilateral authority to have this in a forever pilot program like we have with DORA. We have to reauthorize it time and time and time again. So I think I don't think we've thought hard enough about this. I don't think we've read enough into this. I think we need to go ahead and take a deeper look into having more of a permanent pilot program stage, leveraging our ability with fines and with other flexibility we have within our ordinance to make this happen, because I worry about the confusion around County Road Y, where the city and county meet, to the point where we could have some people driving deeper into the city without any sort of guidance or framework there. So I just want to put that out there. I think some of the material hasn't really been read quite well on this.
Mr. Hartman, would you mind giving us a little bit of a rundown on the Transportation Committee's thoughts a little bit. Many of us have watched it. We've been watching, listening. We gave guidance to send it to Transportation because, in my opinion, I don't think we do a very good job of writing ordinances up here on the fly. And we wanted for additional public input. And sending to one of our boards and commissions, which is a citizen body, is a wonderful way to engage the public and provide them additional opportunities to speak on things.
Thank you.
The public did, and I guess, where were you guys a little bit, and tell us a little bit.
We had 2 meetings where we discussed this. The first one was in September, and at that meeting is when we also suggested taking a poll of the city citizens on their perspective. We then had another meeting in October where we discussed it again at some length, and we heard from Mr. Schmidt again, and he's always informative on ATV and UTVs. I think for the committee, the cons were more tangible than the pros. The cons were the driving while under the influence issue. We did hear from the chief in terms of some concern about additional pressure on law enforcement when they're understaffed. The poll responses were fairly clear. I do want to point out 33% of the people who responded to the poll actually owned an ATV or UTV. And based on the number of 10,000 in the county, that means, less than 10% of the people in the county actually own an ATV, but 33% responded. Of those responded did. The results were 55% didn't want ATV, UTV in city streets. 40% did, but then again, 33% already own ATV and UTVs. So I think for the committee, those were pretty clear. The potential of some economic gain isn't quite so clear. So one thing that I thought we understood, but based on comments tonight, I didn't think there were trails that came into the city that ended in the city. So if they do.
I think that was a misnomer. I think they have routes, not trails, routes.
Okay. All right.
Trail, but not routes.
All right. Because what I understood is there were no ATV trails that were coming into the city. And so that was another point from the committee's perspective is, it wasn't a pro. So I think that was our thinking. And to be fair, we had 4 members there. 2 members that were not there, I think, are more positive toward this option than the folks who were at attending the meeting that night. So just to be fair, I haven't asked the 2 who weren't there, but my sense was they were more positive than the people who were at the meeting.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, and thank you for that background. I guess I just wanted to say thank you for the Transportation Committee for going through this. It does seem like the entire process was very intentful. We went out for surveys. You guys had multiple meetings. I watched both of those meetings, and there were a lot of people at each of them. So I just want to thank the Transportation Committee for kind of maybe being in the line of fire a little bit on a hard topic and really putting time and energy into looking at this one for us. So that was all. I just wanted to give that shout out a little bit.
Currently, there is no recommendation from Transportation. There's no recommendation to do something or to not do something. It's in our, the ball's back in our court, which is fine. Options to move forward. 1, we send it back to Transportation with clear expectations as to what we want them to do. It could result in the exact same response, and that would be okay. It could also be to not to do something or to do something. Council we can try ourselves. It doesn't usually go well when 5 or 6 of us, or 7, when we get a 7th, try to write ordinances. Generally, it's best if it comes to us in some form, as we were kind of hoping for, and then we can try to adjust on the things that we like or don't like. So at least we have something, a guiding document. That's what we were hoping for. We don't have one, other than copying, at the moment, copying the counties. Or we do nothing. At the moment, I've not sure that there's 4 of the 5 that are here tonight that have interest in moving forward. I've heard some positive, but also some not so positive on the topic. I'll poll when I'm ready, but if I poll and there's not 4, it doesn't move forward, at least at this time. So those are a couple of the options for moving forward or not for council. Council's interest level in having Transportation Committee do some further discussion on it, but we would have to provide some very good feedback from this process, as well as maybe more clarity as in terms of what we expect. But it may very well come back with nothing. If, to Mr. Hartman's point, if the same 4 people show up and they're not interested in the topic very much, it may be a very quick meeting. I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but that may be the case, right? And that would be an okay response. Mr. Flum?
Personally, my druthers would be to have the transportation look at the county ordinance specifically as a base and see where it can be edited to bring it to city standards. Now, if the rest of council doesn't agree, the rest of council doesn't agree. But that would be my druthers on the matter. If they were to review it, they would take the county ordinance as a base and see where they could add certain other regulations and frameworks for it to move forward that would be palatable for council. But if it's not palatable for council, then I've said my piece.
We're not up here, generally, we're not up here to actually debate each other, and this is in no means a debate point. It's, that was the direction we gave them.
I'd like a definitive answer from them.
2 or 3 months ago.
I'd like a definitive answer from them, because we didn't get one. We got a procedural motion which resulted in, a signal. I want a definitive answer.
Doing nothing is also a response.
I was just going to say, if I may.
No, you're fine.
Watching that meeting, that was definitely more than a signal. Like, it was an answer that there wasn't an appetite to move forward. And just like Councilmember Flom, I would have preferred, and I expressed this to Chairperson Hartman, I would have preferred a motion, a second, and then a vote down, so it was more clean and clear. But like watching that, it was a clear non-recommendation from Transportation. Now, that's different than a recommendation not, but it was a non-recommendation from Transportation. I don't want to speak for you.
And I don't want to let him speak for you or for the board. Do you have any, do you want to provide some more context to that maybe?
Well, yeah, the charge that I thought we had was to determine whether ATV, UTVs should be allowed on city streets. I didn't get any sense that our job was to look at the county ordinance and tweak it with the underlying assumption that it was going to get approved. I mean, my assumption all along was that our charge was, is this something that we want to do as a city? And if it's to really look at the county ordinance, yeah, we can do that. But that's not, we didn't do that this last time because we didn't think that's what we were supposed to do.
Well, I don't think you're wrong. I think the initial, I mean, for me, if I give direction on, hey, look at this and make a recommendation to us, if you don't like moving forward with something, then you shouldn't go through the effort of critiquing and modifying something even further. If it's, first question is yes, if it's yes or no, and then we can proceed with, step 2 in this case. step one said no, there was no step two then to follow that because you weren't interested in the topic in terms of what you thought was best for transportation in this community. And for those listening and those maybe even here, our boards and commissions have narrow parameters. I want to be clear on that. Their job is to look at things through the perspective of that board. In your case, it's transportation-related issues within the city of Oshkosh, not economic development, not leisure and sporting and those types of things. Your task was to look at it through the lens of your board. It's our job to look at it through a much bigger lens. We have to see the whole field to make the best call possible. We asked Transportation Committee to look at it from a transportation perspective, and I believe you guys did. I believe those that were present. And again, decisions are made by those who show up. I'm going to let that one hang for a second, but they are made by those who show up. So if board members are not there, if council members are not there, that has an impact on how we move forward. Mr. Buelow.
Sure. Chief Smith, please. And I just want, sorry for bubbling. Want to touch on the point Councilmember Flo made, and I think it's a really good and valid point of making sure that we have a framework and clarity in the city of Oshkosh, since the county has adopted a legality. Right now, the clarity is that it is not legal to drive these on city streets. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so if we make no change, it'll still be, the framework and the clarity is that it's not legal to drive ATU, TV. So like, there's no ambiguity that we need to fix, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
At the moment, I haven't given an opinion on it. Basing things off the county ordinance, I am not in favor of moving forward. That is a clear hard stop. I talked about the safety concerns at the last meeting that we had a chance to talk on this. Those haven't changed at all for me. Those still are a number one concern. Number two, I am not a lawyer, thankfully. No offense to lawyers. I know there was a pause there.
Every time you have to say no offense to lawyers, it's
there is some ambiguity. Not every council, every county, every municipality, every township who has enacted an ordinance, I don't know that they have followed state statute to the letter. And that opens them up to potential litigation. 23-33, 11A1. Any county, town, city, or village may enact an ordinance that is in strict conformity with this section. That's the ATV, UTV section of the state statutes. And I use the word, and they use the word strict conformity with this section and the rules promulgated by the department under this section. That means that every township, city, and village and county has to follow state law. State law allows 12-year-olds to drive ATVs. I don't know a single person who would like a 12 or 13-year-old riding an ATV going down South Park Avenue at 35 miles an hour with the traffic around that. And I'm not a constitutionalist, and I don't know the ins and outs of every state statute. But any county that has written an ordinance that says minimum age is 16 is not in strict conformity with state statutes. And I question if they're just waiting for somebody to say that's wrong and we should be, that it's, you have to allow 12 to 15-year-olds to drive these things. Part two, I mean, there's a difference between ATV and UTVs, and yet this topic has made sure that they both stayed together going forward. UTVs are different than ATVs, and there is safety concerns, there is equipment things, we talked about those previously. So in the current form, the county ordinance doesn't do anything for me. I think the Transportation Committee made a recommendation. Their voice was clear. It would have been easier for us if they said no, physically said no to an ordinance or a recommendation, but their job is not to make our lives easy. So
they did a great job of collecting information.
They absolutely did, and they did their job in terms of allowing for public input in this process. So I guess here's my poll to council to kind of hopefully maybe wrap it up. The question is, do you want the city in some way to move forward on this? And then I'll further up. So basically I need a yes or no on, do you want us to continue this topic and the discussion on it in some fashion, and then if there's enough yeses, we'll figure out what the next step is. I'll go right this, I'll go this to Mr. Stevenson. Do you want the city to continue this, the discussion on this topic moving forward?
No, unless the state can change some of those things I asked questions about. Unless the state is going to change the ability for us to require insurance, unless the state is going to change that ruling on 12-year-olds being able to ride things or DUIs. Those are my hiccup in this. And I don't think that just having a ordinance violation or ordinance citation is sufficient for reprimanding people that were to break those rules. I would like the actual vehicular state statutes to be enforced in this regard. So it's a long answer, no. Short answer, no.
Mr. Buelow?
No.
Mr. Flom?
I believe that home rule provides us to tighten up the rules on this, so yes.
Okay, Mr. Spanbauer?
My thoughts on this process are, it feels like everything, while there is seemingly overwhelming opposition, I guess, I feel like even tonight we've heard some questionable information sort of put back and forth, people providing different answers. Yes, there's economic impact, there's $100 million, no, there's no. So I would be willing to let this be investigated a little bit more.
Okay. As with anything we do, we need 4 to give advice and direction to council, to city staff. At the moment, there is not 4 that support moving forward with this. So at the moment, this won't be moving forward in the city of Oshkosh. That does not mean it won't come back in the future. Could be near future, could be a little bit longer. I suspect it will come back. In the meantime, I know myself, and I feel confident when I say this council will work with our legislative partners to try to help improve the way the state statutes are written to allow municipalities to do this safely and responsibly. I don't believe state statutes are keeping up, and they're not always supposed to. The state and government in general is not supposed to lead on these types of things. They're generally reactionary, and that's okay. And I think in this space, in this time, I don't know that state statutes are where they need to be able to do this safely within cities of our size and municipalities like this. Maybe even within the counties, but I don't operate in that space. My responsibility is within these city limits. So I know I had a conversation with one of our state legislators last week on the topic, and I think it's imperative that not only us, but our league partners, this is not an issue that just affects Oshkosh. As it was mentioned, yeah, we may be looking to lead possibly on it, maybe not, but this issue affects every city, town, and county throughout the entire state of Wisconsin. And I think we should be leaning into our league, Wisconsin municipalities, trying to leverage our ability to lobby the state and our legislative partners, as well as the departments that are responsible for it within the Evers administration, and try to address some of these concerns we have to make it something safer so that it can come back to us and we can say yes to it. I would like to. But right now, I don't know there's enough safety guardrails in place to make sure it's safely done in the city of Oshkosh. So I'll welcome any comments from my council members in the future in terms of how we best engage with our state partners, whether it's individually, collectively, or on behalf of the city of Oshkosh. But I imagine this should be a topic that we should be trying to bring up every time we chat with our assembly reps and state senators to help craft something that's right, or better at least. So. With that, we'll move on to B, 28B, regulations of e-bikes in the city of Oshkosh. I don't have anyone registered to speak on this topic.
You do. Well, not technically.
Oh, yes, Ms. Diener, you did mention it. Yep. Come on up.
I had my concern ever since they started. And the problem is there's more speed than people think. and they don't care. They think they can beat a car. They're in the turning lane left, and they don't care what they do. They'll go right in front of a car or cut you right off. They just don't care, and they don't stop at the stop sign. They just go right through like, I can do whatever I want. It's not safety. And I wanted to bring it up when you were talking about when they said they can enforce. Okay, what's going to happen? Now, me tonight, I'll tell you I'm here. I didn't bring my insurance card. So if I get picked up, you're going to ask me where my insurance card is. Well, if I got to go to the court's going to say, where's the proof you have insurance? Who's going to know you have insurance when you get picked up? And I'll tell you right now, the chief will tell you right now, they don't have time for all this. Because you know what? Number one is priority, not that, unless there's a bad accident. We don't have the staff to do it. And it's just, they just do what they want. And they're not just adults. These are young kids doing it. And I have called. And a lot of the officers don't like when I call. But it's safety matter. They don't stop. They pull right out in front of the vehicle down by New York, by Walter's Food Town. And they just want to do what they want. And I'm for the chief. You don't know until you have a DUI. And here it is, especially when you've been injured by a DUI. You stop and think. And you're not there to complain, but when you've been injured by one, it's not good. And I feel sorry for the ATVs, but you know what? We've been up north, and they're coming right down the highway. No lights on, way up by Clintonville. They don't care. They'll go where they want. And you're doing 55 miles an hour, and you don't see no lights. They don't care. They're dodging. They want to just get to that place so fast. And it's not in the city. It's on 55.
Thank you, Ms. Diener. Anybody else in the public that wants to chat with us regarding e-bikes before we have our discussion? I don't see anybody. Council, the discussion is yours. Regulations on e-bikes. Mr. Collins, maybe? I know, putting you on the spot a little bit, but, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Flom, you go first. My apologies.
So with this, reading the background information, thank you for coming up, Jim. This is going to be for you and I guess for the police chief as well. Option 5, restricting bikes and e-bikes on sidewalks where a building abuts a sidewalk, so business ingress and egress. Bicycle riding is permitted except as prohibited in this subsection or otherwise regulated in municipal code. While this tackles a larger concern, I have questions about viability of enforcement. And so, you know, if we're going to have every spot in town, and it's like you can't drive past this building, you got to be on the bike lane here, then you got to get up on the sidewalk here, or you can't get up on the sidewalk here. I understand the scope of it. Personally, I'd like something a little bit cleaner, but just, Chief Smith, how viable is that from an enforcement perspective? Option 5 there.
The e-bike regulations as put forth through society, through what we're doing here in Wisconsin, just like everything else, they don't keep up with state code. And the viability of enforcement on this really begins with public information and just sharing through a communications plan, if we actually went down this route, what this looks like. And then even with an officer who finds an e-bike riding down the roadway and we do a stop, it would be more education than it would be enforcement in the sense of writing somebody a ticket. It would be my expectation that we would give somebody fair warning. Within our systems itself, we can issue warnings. As a matter of fact, we require that every time a police officer stops somebody for a traffic violation, they either write them a citation or they write them a warning ticket. Our warning tickets go into our track system, so we know when somebody gets a warning. And if they've already been warned about riding an e-bike on a sidewalk that abuts up into a building, into a business, then they would probably be issued a citation at that point. There's no perfect solution for enforcement. It's not like a speed limit sign. You go 55, if you go 65, we can write you a ticket for that. And exploring what other communities are doing, it's not an easy fix, but we do believe we need to do something as it relates to e-bikes being on the sidewalks. We also believe that it's important that we allow our bicycles to continue riding on the sidewalks. One of the areas that I have a concern in, of course, is sidewalks that go through roundabouts. We're not trying to regulate an e-bike that's riding on the sidewalk at 9th Avenue, trying to get through the roundabout. They're difficult for all of us to travel with our regular vehicles, let alone on an e-bike or on a bicycle. I don't want to put bicycles in roundabouts. What I do want to do is have some mechanism to really take care of our pedestrians that are in our downtown area, that are in our business areas, so that we can keep them safe. As a point of reference, there was a citizen who was actually hit by an e-bike in Menasha, I believe, and he died this year. So there is need for that. There is no perfect solution, Councilman Flom. It's just what is the best solution that we can come up with.
And I appreciate that. I know that when this council issued instruction to staff, it was, we need to do something, and I agree we have to do something. And there has to be some form of compromise here. So while I may appreciate something cleaner, I understand we probably can't get to that point. There's not something as
at this time, just as was brought up in the past.
Right.
If Madison gets caught up, then we may be able to do something more.
Sure.
What we did do when we looked at ordinances, this is an ordinance that Madison actually has, trying to emulate what's already been occurring, and there are a lot of bicycle traffic in the Madison area. It's not perfect, but again, we would be doing a lot of education, and we'd be doing a lot of opportunity for folks to demonstrate that they know how to follow the rules.
Sure. So if you feel confident with number 5, at the end of the day, I would be happy to proceed with what the Transportation Committee recommended.
It's probably the most preferable option. It's not the cleanest option.
Okay, very good.
Because the cleanest option is to regulate bicycles and e-bikes on all sidewalks, so you can't be on the sidewalk.
Sure.
Which is not really viable for our community.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank the Transportation Committee for their work on this one. They got clear instruction from council and proceeded and gave us back a definitive answer on this front, so I appreciate that, and that's my piece on this.
Deputy Mayor.
I'm going to ask you a question. Sorry, you just sat down.
That's okay. I'm here for you.
When you say Madison hasn't caught up, that's because bicycles and e-bikes they're looked at as the same thing. Is that?
That is correct. Under state code, bicycles and e-bikes are the same.
Sure. So we're running into, at this point, we can't really differentiate between these two. If we write an ordinance to affect one, it affects the other.
Correct.
Sure. Okay. And then I guess a little bit, I'm good with option 5. I guess I think maybe Councilman Flom, you were trying to get at, if there's, I'm just thinking if there's like a rogue building built in the middle of a block that happens to be a zero setback building, and then there aren't other zero setback buildings, it would create a pocket on that sidewalk where you couldn't. Do you see what I'm saying?
And that was, we originally went down the path of trying to identify specific streets within the city that we could say, you can't do it here, but you can do it here. That would be even more complicated for police officers to try to differentiate which street it is and signage, and it would be very complicated.
Okay, and I guess that's where my mind was going. If that's more complicated, then never mind.
Yeah.
Anything else from council? As the chief indicated or confirmed there, I remember back, it was probably one of my first years on council, so 6 or 7 ago, we had a very similar conversation when it came to, I think, scooters. I think was probably the topic. I'm looking at the city attorney because we're the only two that, well, besides Mr. Collins, two that were here around that time, but we also ran into some similar discussions about we're limited in terms of how effective anything that we enact can be because of the way state statutes are written. The definitions are quite antiquated. I'm going to sound like a broken record here. This was topic 2 with that same state legislator last week in terms of this is an issue affecting the entire state, the country. These devices are far outpacing, and the advancement of these devices are far outpacing regulations on them, state statutes, local ordinances, but the technology advancements, even the last handful of years, has been very significant in terms of their speed and the impact on the communities, right? The number of users of these. So one of the questions we had last time, I don't know who wants to confirm it for me, but wheelchairs are a mobility device, similar to, and classified similar to Segways, I believe, I'm trying to remember what they were classified as, because I'm looking at this breakdown and I'm getting a interesting look from the city attorney. I'm trying to figure out where a electric wheelchair actually fits into this, because they were classified at the time as one of these
They
things.
aren't really classified under the state statute. I think you're thinking of, there's something called, and I pulled it because I want to make sure I get it right, electric personal assistive mobility device, which maybe sounds like a wheelchair when you say it, but it's actually, that's the statutory term for a Segway.
Okay. I'm reflecting back that I thought we struggled with trying to say one was allowed and one wasn't back in the day. And that's where I'm struggling with, how do we allow certain things but not allow certain things in terms of the equity and the usage of these. So I don't know that I know enough on that yet. Option 5 is a start, but I'm concerned that the narrowness of it, we're looking at it in terms of someone stepping out of a building is the only thing that we're addressing with this potential update. And that is something to address. The chief said it in one way, I'm going to say it in another. There are no solutions, there's only options to this issue, problem, however we want to define it. I see the same concerns on a wide open sidewalk in a residential area where someone who may not be able to move very fast is being approached by something moving very, very fast and not able to get out of the way. So I'm not sure that this does enough for me. Just my opinion on it.
Just
yeah.
clarification
Please,
on
thank
that. We do have an ordinance that would require a bicycle to yield to a pedestrian. I have to look up the number for you, but
I'm thankful for that,
but
but it doesn't do anything to actually
I
prevent
understand. I just wanted to.
Thank you.
If you're going to try to legislate until we have common sense, and
We may be here a while.
we're going to need an amendment.
Very well put. So I just don't know, I don't know if this does enough, but it may be a step in the right direction. I just don't know if it's a big enough step for me, but that's kind of where I'm at on it.
I guess I haven't talked yet. I'll say that I'm appreciative of Transportation Committee giving us the approval of option 5, or the recommendation, I should say. I talked to a little bit Chief Smith on this, and I told him what I wanted to see was something that he can, the team can communicate, can enforce, and can help people understand. And I don't know, I agree with you that I don't think this goes far enough, but I don't know how to do that next step in a way that is communicable to the public and enforceable. So I told Chief Smith that if he gave me something that he felt like he could communicate and enforce, that I would support it. And this is something that I think it does part of the solution, and so I'm going to support it.
Mr. Spanbar.
I will confer with Councilmember Bulow and Mr. Mayor. I'm in agreement with number 5. I mean, I would agree with what Mr. Mayor said, that I think it's a step, but I'd like to see some additional investigation or some additional action taken here. As someone who does, bike pretty regularly, and I think you'll find this among a lot of folks in the biking community. They're going to be on the roads because in many other municipalities around the state, around the country, bikes are not permitted. And I'm talking just regular bicycles here. Bikes are not permitted on sidewalks. So bikes will be on the road. That's where people ride them. Sometimes with the exceptions of individuals under 18. The piece I guess I would say or ask is, folks on e-bikes, I think we've had a lot of discussion here about common sense, common courtesy. We've seen all the videos of folks driving down the sidewalk on their e-bike at 30 miles an hour. The same can be true for a bike that one can just pedal with their own 2 legs. You can get going quite fast. And so, while I think number 5 is a good step in the right direction, I would ask for some common courtesy and some common sense, kind of from both sides, from the bikers who are biking through the city, and also for drivers. As someone who has biked around the city quite a bit, oftentimes people in cars are not overly friendly, and they think that bikes don't belong on the streets. And I can envision streets where now we are going to say bikes are not permitted to be on the sidewalk. They have to be on the road. And folks on the road may not always be as kind and courteous as they could or should be. So I guess that's just my public safety comment on that.
Mr. Flo?
Just hope that there's still an abundance of people on e-scooters going down sidewalks as well. I know that this is not the scope of this discussion, but just kind of throwing that out there that we still have that as well. So I think this is a good starting point, but perhaps in the future, if there are more people, we still see more people driving on e-scooters down sidewalks, especially in heavily populated areas like Main Street and Oregon Street, that we can confer with that later. But for now, I think this is a good start.
I believe you've got enough direction to move forward with bringing this to us when you're ready with an ordinance update. It seems like there's enough council support for that. Look forward to seeing that and moving forward and trying to improve this. But I think this is also something, again, we should continue to try to work with our partners to try to ask the state to give us some clear guidelines, some clear definitions, and trying to keep up with some of the technology that is advancing here pretty rapidly. So that's enough on this one. We're going to special assessment deferral policy. I do have 2 individuals who want to speak to us before we do. Mr. Bellacarelli first, and then I believe Mr. Stephen Klinger, who is still here as well. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Again.
Hi there, Adam Belcarelli, 1624 Western, and on the Long Range Finance Committee for the city. I was asked to come and talk a little bit about our last Long Range Finance Committee meeting. Again, because we had some residents come in along Clairville Road, new residents to the city, and they had some questions about the special assessment process and sort of how we talked about that or thought about that in the past. So I just wanted to go through a few of the highlights from that meeting and give some information just as far as our thought process and how we worked through some of the explanations of what was happening there. So the first part is that this tends to be, or is a 2-part issue. First being that there are deferrals, so that if you receive a significant special assessment, you have the option of spreading that out over time. And then the second part is how do we lower special assessments overall? And as we all know, these are the 2 things we've been working on for many years, and to figure out a good way to do both of those things. One of the other pieces was the deferral policy and who's able to utilize that. And so on the committee, we were talking about the different property types that there would be, and the consensus was that residential and agricultural properties should be eligible for the deferral process. We talked about if it's possible to extend that deferral out or the payment plan out beyond 20 years. And staff let us know that there's a maximum that the city is allowed to take out debt to 20 years, and so that was that constraint there on giving people the option of up to 20 years to pay off those assessments. One of the other things that Director Robbie brought up earlier is that we can't just make everyone in the city pay for these assessments because of the PSC rules that govern that. One of the other pieces of information that came up in our meeting was folks were saying they weren't happy being surprised by these kinds of assessments. And one of the things that we talked about was the annexation schedule has been around since, I believe, 2004, maybe earlier than that, in this agreement between the city of Oshkosh and town of Algoma on how those steps of annexation will exist. And so that's part of the information that is available to anyone who buys property in those areas that they believe are outside the city currently. But that's available for people to do that kind of planning. We talked about some of the issues that had come up in the past when discussing the special assessments and this idea of, I don't want to, if I have to pay it, then if we switch the way it's paid, then the people who got it assessed last year also want to be credited back, and the people before that want to be credited back, and so you end up not solving the problem. There was another suggestion of doing a flat percentage, and the discussion on that was either that's too low an amount to actually do the work, or that is unfair and it actually slides the burden down to those folks that have the smaller homes and less value in their property already. And so that's not necessarily the most equitable way to do these sorts of things. So those are some of the big topics that came up, just as far as how we were looking at this. But it is something that we look at on our committee often, and so we're trying to continue to offer ways for the special assessments to be less of a burden, including some of the changes that have been made recently on what specific kinds of projects can be special assessed, and changing that, how some of those things are funded, has been, we believe, incredibly successful. But it is something that's always going to need a lot of work and attention, just because these dollar amounts are significant. Thanks.
Thank you.
I know I'm going to have a few questions. We're going to go to Mr. Klinger next, but if you wouldn't mind sticking around. Good evening, welcome.
Okay, I'm Steve Klinger. I'm at 2710 Clairville Road.
Is it on the upper part otherwise?
All right,
There you go.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you guys for having me here. Thank you for having me at the finance meeting too. It's very educational. I did pick up a lot of information that I feel helped me just to understand, you know, what the city's looking at and, you know, how they have to deal with these charges. However, you know, we're talking about delaying a special assessment, a significant cost to these people, which, you know, to me, it feels like you're just kind of kicking the can down the road. It's not addressing the problem, which is the special assessments, and the magnitude of these special assessments. And, you know, to remind you, you know, what some of these assessments were, you know, we got James and Susan Hiltz. They have a special needs child. They're being charged $25,000. We got Tom and Grace Radig, retired. Their assessments are at $52,740. Me, Steve and Shelley Klinger. I've got one child that's going to college, trying to pay for college. I got another one that's going to be going to college soon. Our assessment is $74,453. Jeffrey Faust, he's got a business. He's planning on retirement. Between his house and his business, it's over $140,000. We got Stephen Clara Faust, retired, fixed income, $56,760. These are numbers that I've presented to many people across the city, many people down Clairville Road. Not one of them said, this is right, you know. And it's good that you guys understand that there is a problem and you recognize that there's a problem. And it's great that we mentioned, Bruce mentioned the rest of Clairville Road and the construction that's coming that way. You're going to see more of people like me coming in upset. just give you a cost. These are based off the 23 assessment rates. You know, we got 2490 Clairville Road. They're looking at about $90,000. We got 2960 Clairville Road. That's approaching $100,000. And these are residents that are, you know, I've met some of them. They're older people that are retired. They're lower income families. You know, just because we're once outside of the city doesn't mean we have these big incomes and we can afford this stuff. I could go on and on. I've got a whole list of, you know, all of Clairville Road, 9th Avenue. The numbers are spectacular. Compare that to what's happened recently with the wheel tax and what people are getting assessed in town. The average, or I'd say nearly every one of them, is $3,750. Okay, and that's for digging up streets, pulling up old pipes, putting in new pipes, putting in new laterals. Seems like a lot more work than somebody dragging down the road, laying new pipe. One of the issues I have with the special assessments or the policy is the differentiation between new construction and existing construction. Downtown, of course, they're existing construction. They've been that way for decades, for centuries. You know, some of these houses have had plumbing, you know, since Oshkosh was built. None of these families paid a special assessment, okay? If you look at the owners that are recently annexed that have their own septic, their own well, I'd say that's existing construction. They paid for that when they bought the house or when they put in their $10,000 well, or they put in their, you know, $10,000 septic system. They paid for that. To get whacked again with a special assessment for a service they don't necessarily need, which is great that you guys aren't requiring to hook up right away. It's not fair. I just want to kind of, you know, inform you there are houses for sale on Clairville Road because of this policy. One of the things that I don't know everybody that's aware of on Clairville Road, that in 2043, when they're annexed on the other side of the, on the west side of the highway or street, that they're going to have to disclose these costs when they sell their home. And I'll guarantee you, none of these houses' values are going up $50,000. They will never recoup that money. You know, I guess personally for me, you know, and I've said this, you know, I've got a kid in college. I'd like to help them as much as I can. You know, you kick this out 10 years down the road. I cannot plan for both. Vacations, family time, I haven't been able to enjoy my life since these assessments come through. I've got a house that's probably due for siding. If I know the city's gonna come in and take my home away because I can't pay the special assessment, I'm not gonna side it. Safe, reliable, my son, his vehicle, he needs a new vehicle. I'd like to buy him a new car. I can't do that stuff. So my final thoughts on this is that I do appreciate the city's looking into how it can help. And if deferring it's the best you can do for now, I vote you guys move forward with this. However, I think you need to look at the policy, fix the policy, and, you know, go to the root of the problem. Kicking it down the road, it's not helping anybody. Final things, we're not developers. We should be assessed as developers. Okay, if we're, you know, maybe if I were to take and section my lot, you can build me for that. Build me when I do my whatever you want to call it, when I separate my lot. Really, that's about all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you want to speak to us on this topic?
Yeah, on this topic. First fire again, I lived on Clairville, I still live on Clairville Road. I've lived there for 52 years. I've got a well and a septic tank that's worked for 50 years, and now the city built a big hill of dirt and a holding pond on Clarville Road on South that cost $10 million to do. $10 million that was paid for by the city. There's no houses, there's no nothing. It's owned by the city. Is that right? I don't hear a yes or no.
What's the question? I heard you make a statement, but I don't know what your question is.
The lot that city owns on Clarville Road.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that pays no taxes.
That was a stormwater
That pays no
project.
assessment. That costs $10 million worth of dirt that they hauled in. And yet, people like us that have to pay the special assessment to get sewer and water for some other person. Again, they have to have a circle on the water. They could have the circle of water coming in for 20th Street. But 20th Street's got high pressure water. They can't come in from that way. So what do? They come in from 9th Street. So they come in 9th and go down Clareville. It's 1 mile to go down to 20th Street. All the city is doing is paying money, and they're charging the people that live on Clareville Road for it. All I've done since I've been annexed to the city is pay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else that would like to speak on this topic that's here before council starts their discussion on it? I don't see anybody. Council, it's your discussion at this point. Just random. Adam, did you guys chat about like when this should kick in? Is there a number value that let me back up. The impetus for this thing was not just Clareville Road 2 years ago, 9th Street before that, because they experienced a very similar thing. And there's been others.
Before that, yeah.
Correct. And one of the things that council in the past spoke about was these very debilitating numbers and these large special assessments. We never clarified what large is. Like, we inferred that there is some number that we're comfortable with, but we never quantified what the number was that we were comfortable with. So, and also not trying to pass judgment on anybody who can or can't afford any specific number, but a deferment of this length, smaller assessments may not be appropriate. The idea for this was really these larger ones was the intention. So was there talk of like when it could be activated for a
Like
deferral
at what dollar
policy?
amount would you qualify? Yeah, and I don't, we didn't talk about that I'm recalling.
Okay.
As far as a specific dollar amount. I think that's the sort of thing that would be left up to individual discussions, just because what seems a reasonable amount today, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, may not be. So I believe that was to give some flexibility to make those adjustments as needed.
And then it looks like you guys did discuss the difference between the property types, whether, owner's primary residence, agricultural, business. There was a differentiator there. Somebody decided like it should apply to residential and agricultural, but not necessarily to commercial or industrial.
Correct.
Any additional thoughts beyond that, I guess?
The primary, I think, driver to that in our discussion was the value to the individual, because we weren't encouraging people to sell or to make a profit off of the land. It was more that, again, not necessarily who can afford it, but who is profiting or able to have residual value from that at the time rather than at the end of their time.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Bulow, I don't know if you have anything for Adam or not, or if anybody has anything more for Adam.
Not so much for Adam, I can let other people go first if they.
Does anybody have anything for Adam or the long-range finance? Okay. At this time, I guess we don't have anything more.
I mean, I
appreciate
usually
it.
have, comments for Adam, but they're not.
If you feel free to stick around and if we have more. Mr. Bulow.
Thank you. Just touching on some of the comments that were made. I know in my time here, this is not by far the first time this has come up. It has been and I know you've served longer than I have, and I know you've heard these stories longer than I have.
Are you calling me old?
Yes. I think you're the oldest on.
It's not wrong.
No. And I laugh, and because that's the way I treat every issue. But this is a serious matter, and I know when we were talking about trying to solve the adjacent issue of redevelopment streets, special assessments, we spent months talking about different options. Can we set a floor? Attorney Lawrenson said, sure, but you might get sued. Can we set a ceiling? Sure, but you might get sued. So when we went to the vehicle registration fee plus the utilities paying for the rebuilding of the roads, it was the best of imperfect solutions. And I think wherever we're going to get here is also going to be an imperfect solution, but I am glad that we at least have a step. This is not the end solution, but this is definitely a step that needs to be taken as an option at least. Planting money trees out there would also help, but I don't think that's going to be an option because it really is, the projects are going to happen eventually, and it's how do they get paid for? And I hear the residents out there that, are they bearing more than their fair share of the burden? And I have talked to Director Robbie about it, of what the other funding options are, and there aren't a lot of other good ones. So it's trying to figure out the best way to do that. I'm going to support the deferment that was talked about. I'm glad that we at least have it for the single family properties, to extend it out. Like I said, this is a first step. This is by no means the last step. Please continue to come and talk to us, but I want you to know that even on the days that you don't come and talk to us and have to come in here, we're still thinking and working on this. I want you to know that. Because this isn't a new issue, it's just continuing to try to find the right solution.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, very similar sentiments. I like everything in this ordinance. I think it's taken a couple of years to get here. I also wanted to point out, beyond the delayed deferment portion of this, we also have options to keep your private well and septic on there, kind of included in this, which I also really like. Maybe just a little bit off of what Councilmember Bulow said. None of us up here like to give you guys big bills. We hate it. I mean, nobody, staff nor council, wants to give our community a bill that changes your life like this. That sucks, and we really empathize with you. We rack our brains up here on how to fix those things. I think this is a really, really good step right here. I do think deferrals can really give some actual leeway for some of these folks, for some of you all. We'll continue to look into this, but again, we get elected by all you guys. I mean, I could care less if this thing is benefiting a developer or not. The point brought up about looping water mains is really important to me. Water mains should be looped. If there are people, and sorry, sir, we don't do a back and forth. I know. But if a water lane is in just a straight line, and as Director Robbie came out, if that water main goes off, those people all now have to boil their water. They can't use water for a couple of days. That's a safety concern. And I know we're going to keep getting these issues as we annex folks in, but again, just know that we are up here trying to come up with good solutions. We are up here trying to make sure that citizens' lives aren't ruined by assessments. We'll continue to do that as we move forward. I think this is a really good step right now, and I thank staff for bringing this forward. Again, this has probably been, I would say, 3 years of work, at this point to try to get something like this in front of you, so.
Mr. Flum?
Thank you. I'm not going to beat a dead horse on this, but what I will say is that this has obviously been a long-standing issue. And for me, if there were a better option, if there was an option to go further, if there was an option to alleviate more of the financial pressures that are put on residents, I would take it and I would grab it with both hands. I don't see one. I don't see one that doesn't have us fall out of the bounds of state law. I don't see us, not going forward with something further, which then may involve not doing street reconstruction projects or construction projects. And we have to do those. We have to loop water mains. We have to repave streets. We have to do these kinds of things. So for me, if there were a better option, I would take it. And that's what I want to say for this. We're going to still continue to think of other ways where we can lessen the pain on people because it's not fun. If I lived out there, I would be sitting where the residents are sitting here now. I would be. And I wouldn't be happy about it. And I wouldn't think that this would go far enough. But I will take something other than nothing. And for that, that's where I sit on this.
Sir, I should have addressed this at the front end of the meeting, and that's my fault. This is now our time to discuss. You had an opportunity to speak to us. This is now a council discussion, and that's where it resides at this moment. So thank you very much, but I'm going to ask that you remain silent now from this point forward. I should have addressed it much earlier in the meeting, and that's on me. Mr. Robbie and Ms. Combs, I have a couple questions. I guess in terms of the policy, obviously it's long-range finance, so you're involved in that from the finance side. Concerns on the financial side in terms of cash flow, the impacts, the potential impacts, because without I don't even know what I was trying to call it before, but without a triggering event, like a trigger of you've now qualified, we could be deferring quite a lot of special assessments, couldn't we? So I have concerns on the cash flow side of this from a financial perspective and the unintended consequences of what could be significant deferrals. Could be. I know that, and I have questions about why. We've talked about this before, so I think James is going to be okay on this, but I've also have questions on why are some of these so large, so we can talk about that in this moment too as well. So,
And I think one of the reasons to not get into that, infinite loop of waiting for a triggering event is why there was a time period put on it that, you can only defer it up to this point in time. And then you have to pick a plan. That was, so you didn't get into that, infinite wait and, staff changeovers and something gets missed. I know that was one of the things, Julie described to us in several instances of, prior experiences at another community of things getting missed because staff changed hands and it got forgotten.
doesn't answer my question yet. Do you want to take a whack at my question? In terms of your thoughts, I guess I'll be more specific. Your thoughts on the financial impact to the city's cash flow in the utilities as well as the general fund, because some projects are funded through general fund.
Right. I've had a hard time quantifying because when you have the special assessments, you do have some people that pay immediately. You have some that pay within 5. They pick the different options. The city takes out debt for 20 years. That's why I was trying to keep that as the maximum, just because we will have the debt paid off within 20 years. And sometimes based off of the timing of the construction project and when we actually do the special assessment, we still aren't implementing and we aren't receiving any of those payments the first 1 or 2 years of our debt payments. So timing wise, I didn't want it to get too far off of when we're paying off the debt. But long story short, I do think it's hard to quantify your answer. I think with fund balance, that's where you want to have the healthy fund balance reserve. I think it's manageable. But that's also where it gets a little bit, you want to offer the deferment, you want to be, I'm just like all of you, I never like having to have a special assessment to anybody. But at the same time, ideally, it wouldn't be infinite because of those cash flow concerns. Does that help?
Well, yes and no. I agree that there should be a limit to how long it can be deferred, because it could start having significant impacts on city operations, quite honestly. Not immediately, but give it a decade or so, and that's real money that are for debt payments, not coming in that have to go out, so. So no, but I also asked you a tough question that it's hard to quantify, and I agree, because you don't know what everyone's gonna pick. We do know from special assessment discussions over the last 7 years, you're right, it's like almost a third. About a third play it pretty quick, about a third in 5 years, and a third in 10 years. This will affect that payer mix.
Right.
But how much is a big guess. Mr. Robbie, can you remind us, so, Mr. Klinger gave great examples, anywhere from $25,000 to $140,000 assessments that some of his neighbors, himself included, are subject to. Why are those assessments so large in this space? I know the answer, but why are the assessments so large in this space? And what is within our control and what's not in our control?
The rate for new mains, sewer and water mains, is calculated on a per square foot up to a maximum depth of 120 feet of the property. So it really comes down to the width of the lot that is governing the size of the assessment, because the rate is calculated based upon the prior year's construction costs for mains of a typical size. For sewer, it's calculated based on an 8-inch main at about 10 feet in depth, manholes every 350 feet, water main, 8-inch water main, standard depth of about 6 to 6.5 feet. Anything over that is borne by the city, but the calculation of those rates is based on typical construction to serve residential properties.
And in this space in particular, these lots they're abnormal for a city. They are normal in a rural country type setting in terms of the width and the depth. Fair?
Fair.
That was the issue we ran into where on 9th Street, the special assessments were quite a bit larger than most residents were accustomed to because their frontage was significantly more than the normal. Let's say comparing the CP Street project to 9th Ave, which was happening at nearly the same time or back to back, where special assessments were in the $8,000 to $10,000 range on one area, but then in the 30+ thousand in the other because just linear feet of the frontage of their property. Fair?
Yes, fair. Many of the properties along 9th Avenue west of Oakwood Road originally developed in the town, so they were wider lots, 100, 150, 200-foot lots. Some of those lots were developed as a part of the city, and those were much narrower, 60 to 66 feet. But yeah, when you have those lots that initially developed rural, they needed to be larger because you need that size to be able to provide on-site private waste systems. They take up a lot of space. And having that many wells that close together would cause a problem from an aquifer standpoint as well.
In terms of the rate that we're required, or not the rate, water service is governed by the PSC. So the regulations on this and the requirement that we do the linear feet, the square footage of the lot, the depth times the width. That's a PSC dictated requirement. That is not a City of Oshkosh option.
That we have to either get payment in some way or special assess is required. The methodology we use is left more to our determination, but our PSC rate file says existing ratepayers shall not pay for extensions for new customers. So either way, the whole cost is going to be passed along based on we pick a methodology and that's spread out to calculate the cost. But the rate file says existing ratepayers will not pay for new services.
That's new information, a new caveat for me.
Yeah, the rate file doesn't specify the methodology. The methodology is specified in our special assessment policy. Our rate file with the Public Service Commission says either you'll special assess it or you'll collect it from another means.
And we use that same methodology for wastewater?
Yes, sewer and water are both calculated in a very similar manner. Again, Public Service Commission, while it doesn't regulate wastewater utilities, it has appeal authority over wastewater utilities.
And that's why we treat them very similar.
Correct.
Because of that, because if it's acceptable to one, it shall be acceptable to the other, most likely.
Yes.
You're paying for the length of the pipe in front of your house. It's essentially what the calculation is coming out to be. Okay.
We probably should have a discussion on our internal policies regarding the options available to us possibly, so we can all be a little bit better informed on that policy. It's not connected to this, but it is connected to this because it drives the cost and what is borne by the taxpayers and the ratepayers separately and collectively. Okay. In terms of this policy, council, basically, staff, is this basically the bullet points and the red line version? This is all encompassed in that red and blue lined version. Is that accurate? Like all the bullet points here are built into the 2 chapter updates that were sent to council?
Yeah, I think there's probably more in the red line and blue line version than what's in the memo. I was just trying to highlight some of the discussion points from long range finance.
But all those bullet points are built into the potential
Yes.
update that you guys are going to possibly bring to us if we give that. Okay. Okay. Council, any other further discussion, or I don't see any. Quick poll. Give direction to staff to bring this forward at the next earliest convenience for
Yes.
Yes.
voting. Okay. Ms. Grill, do you have enough direction at the moment to then, and staff? Yes?
Attorney reminded me that the only update to the red and blue line version was Long Range Finance recommended the change to include agricultural properties. That we did not update in the red and blue lines, but it was in the memo. Yes, so that, like, there's, in the red line version, I think it was residential owner occupied only was eligible. Long Range Finance recommended it be eligible for all residential and all agricultural.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I forgot that was in the memo, but not in the red line.
That's okay.
Can we use the word primary residence? I know this is maybe like nitpicky, but if it's like a vacation home, is that why you guys use primary residence, or was that just owner occupied?
They changed it to all residential. They removed.
Oh, did, okay.
Yeah, their
modified to all
goal was to expand it beyond single-family residential to residential.
Okay.
Okay. As the memo indicates, all res and agriculture? Can I get yeses so I don't get accused of doing nodding
Yeah.
heads?
Yes.
I was working through the agriculture specifically, and I don't have a problem with it.
Would you care to share with the group?
They make us sit all the way over here for you, so we.
The all residential, is that intended to include like apartment buildings?
It says all residential.
And that's direction,
That's the memo at the moment, says all residential property, and that would be res 1 through res, however many we have, 10, 12 of them.
I would defer to Sarah on that one.
But-
Sorry, Julie, if you know what's happening there.
There's several, it says all res.
One of the conversations that we did have was, part of this was the deferral to not have to connect to water and sewer. And my point was, what industrial property can operate off of a well and a septic tank? And what commercial property can probably operate off of a well and septic tank? But
Within our current codes, no new, I shouldn't cut you off, but within our
Right.
current codes, no new development would be allowed to. It's
Right.
just not an option.
so, in my mind, putting it as residential and agricultural means pretty much all properties, but.
Understood? Okay.
And it's Sorry. It's use, right, not zone?
I don't know.
I could
I don't know that we got to that level of detail.
That's a question.
And so that's what, yeah. so
What do
I-
you mean by all residential?
Yeah, so that,
I can
and-
write all residential, but then you're going to ask me what that means.
Sure, and I guess maybe that's what we were trying to get around, is that if somebody has a house and they go through or if it's like a quirk that they were commercial at one point, but they're using it as a residential, I think having, I would say residential use, not residentially zoned, or agriculturally used, not agriculturally zoned.
That may be something that maybe at the moment, I don't want to suggest, I will suggest, maybe between finance and public works, we actually loop in economic development in this a little bit, just in terms of some of the nuances before it comes back. We can always amend, and we can
Yeah,
always send
as-
it back for further changes.
Sure.
I'm assuming that these deferment policies, like other communities have done it, so I would not feel bad looking at somebody else to see how they, if they did zoned or if they did use, or, and how would we even police use other than the zone, you know, how would we enforce that? So, like, feel free to, look at what is out there and what is available and bring us a recommendation is my input.
Clear as mud? Got enough direction? Okay. What that means for those listening or writing about it, staff has worked on an ordinance update for us. They need to do some updates to that. So at a future council meeting, it may not be the next regularly scheduled one. It could be after that, but very soon. The policy for deferments will come to us for action, which means it'll be, public will be able to participate again, just like tonight, and then council will have a chance to discuss and either vote, and vote on how to move forward best with that policy update. Okay. That is all we have under discussion and direction of city manager.
That's it.
That is it. That is it. I know we've gone well over, and usually we take a brief break, but I get the feeling that maybe the next few things could go pretty quick, so let's power through. Future agenda items, meetings, workshops, November 4th, that is next week, Tuesday, City Hall, 5 PM. We have the public hearing for the 2026 City of Oshkosh operations budget. And then immediately following that public hearing, we will move into a workshop setting where council and staff will discuss the proposed pedestrian bridge that was in the budget but has been removed currently, and then any follow-up on the operations budget as well. For council, this is a great time to remind you that if you can get questions to the appropriate city staff member, and try to remember to include finance and the city manager on those requests, just so they can all be looped in, but you've got a couple days to get them any last questions or points of clarification. It'd be great to have those things addressed either in advance or allow them sufficient time to address them, so that way next Tuesday we can discuss the matter at hand, and then the following Tuesday, the 11th, we will then take up the full budget for discussion and approval, and hopefully it's a clean budget. We prefer no amendments that night, and so that's why getting direction, final direction next week, Tuesday, will be important, because the way the budget's written and the documents that are attached, math is involved, and we prefer that they don't try to do that on the fly. I know finance really appreciates not being put under the microscope live and in living color to do some of the math updates if we make changes, so.
I'm sure she's got a spreadsheet for that.
I'm confident there is a spreadsheet for that. Next thing, the appointment to council vacancy, November 25th. In case you've been living under a rock, we have an opening on this council. And if you hit the city's website, at the very top, there's a banner that says council vacancy. If you are interested in the job, feel free to click on that and learn more. If you're interested in seeing who has applied, click on that and learn more. As the applications come in, they will continuously be posted out there for everybody to see. And then in about 4 weeks or so, we will take up that action on a Tuesday night to hopefully select a 7th council member to be seated up here.
And those letters of interest are due no later than 4:30 PM on Wednesday, November 12th.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate that a lot. If there's nothing else under those, council member announcements and statements? I do want to say a quick thank you, Cheryl, filling in the interim role for the last few meetings. Appreciate the effort, appreciate that a lot. You've kept us on track, and the effort doesn't go unnoticed. So just want to say thank you for everything.
Thank you.
And we've got a new city clerk starting, I believe, next week. First day is probably next Monday, I think, right? City
November
manager?
4th.
Whatever, okay. Next Tuesday. City manager announcements, statements. The rest is yours.
I believe that someone had registered to speak on item 31. Otherwise, I don't have any comments on either of those.
You know what? Mr. Irish did, but it wasn't. That's what I thought. Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I wanted to make sure as well. Thank you for catching. I did have it. Thank you.
Then I just wanted to go over, because we're having an additional closed session to talk about some redevelopment opportunities downtown. I just wanted to go over the previous discussions that the council and staff have had in the past, just to remind people of that. So this should only take like 2 or 3 minutes, but it has a lot of resources, and we'll post it online for people if they want to review. These are the different town plans that we've had since 2000. So there's numerous ones. There's links to these, so this will be available online again. The consistent vision across the plans is really doing something with the riverfront property in the downtown area, either connectivity, activating the riverfront, catalyst sites, identifying those, high density, and then in 2024, the recent one had a cohesive downtown riverfront vision. Sorry, it's past my bedtime. Concept renderings. And then this is just a summary of the 2000 action plan. There were 9 different focus areas. A lot of them are similar to certain things that we're still talking about 25 years later. And here's an image from the 2017 Imagine Oshkosh plan, where they're talking about the downtown and the outer core and redeveloping there. And then this is focused on one of the catalyst sites from the 2024 downtown redevelopment plan, the city center development. It is a catalyst site in that plan. And there's 2 different properties. Unit 1 is described here. And then Unit 2 is the one next to it. So the first one was the one that Fort Imprint is in. This is the other one that used to be more of the mall property. And here's just the recent history of when we've talked about the downtown opportunities, the city center area. Last year, there was some discussion of City Hall being located down there, so that information's included here. There was a request for zoning change and everything, too. I just wanted to bring this all together since we're having additional discussions, just to remind people of what the past 25 years has been in the last couple of years have been. That's all.
Appreciate you putting that together for us and for the public. Just, it's good to try to clarify that a little bit, because I know that when we go into closed session, there's questions as to what we're talking about and the why. And I think it's good that we try to be giving as much information as possible. In this case, trying to figure out what's best for this community moving forward and in that potential space. So if there's nothing else regarding city manager announcements, statements, or any of her current initiatives, before we go into closed session, council will consider going into closed session for the purpose of bargaining to discuss the potential redevelopment and or acquisition of the property commonly known as the city center. Background information, as the city manager just alluded to, in relation to this closed session was provided to council in the agenda packet. Council, does anyone have any questions related to that background information prior to the motion to go into closed session? I see none. Deputy, you want to give us a motion?
Sure. Motion to move into closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, Sub 1, Sub E of Wisconsin State Statute, where competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session to discuss bargaining options, strategy, parameters, and terms related to the potential redevelopment and/or acquisition of property located at 101 Commerce Street and 201 Pearl Avenue in the city of Oshkosh, commonly known as the City Center.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion to go into closed session? See none, if you'll take the roll on motion to go into closed session.
Plum,
Aye.
Bealow,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Mughwauer.
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
Take a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Whatever.
We'll go Carl and Joe on that one. How about?
Okay, good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.